not just a case. You're not just a client. You're a person, and you deserve support. You deserve simplicity. You deserve communication. When you hire an attorney, you deserve clear, risk-free advice that guides you to the best possible outcome in your injury case. And that's exactly what the advocates have been providing for over 30 years. After your accident, you deserve closure. You deserve compassion. You deserve peace of mind. You deserve an advocate.
This is The Monty Show, the truth in sports talk streaming. When you want unbiased opinions about your favorite team without the spin, all you have to do is find The Monty Show, streaming live and available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on YouTube. And now, here's Monty.
Hey, The Monty Show, live on Monday, November 17th, 2025, I think still. As always, we are presented by The Advocates at theadvocates.com. The best injury attorneys in the business, 24/7, 365. You can always get clear, risk-free advice at theadvocates.com. Make sure you tell them you heard about it on The Monty Show. A lot to get to today. Obviously, the breaking news around James Franklin is a big story. James Franklin allegedly is the new head coach at Virginia Tech. And as we've talked about a lot on this show, you knew James Franklin was going to get a B-level job. I don't think anybody ever thought that James Franklin was a candidate at Florida or LSU or even Arkansas. I think we all knew that James Franklin was going to get one of those B-level jobs. Probably Virginia Tech was his best fit. But I think it's a very interesting juxtaposition. If you look at what this means for Penn State, I think it's a big deal. I think the fact that James Franklin got hired before Penn State even had a number one candidate in mind is pretty shocking. That James has rebounded so quickly, and it goes back to what we talked about because I think we told you last Thursday that he was on the verge of getting this job. Now you know he has this job, and I think, hey, is it a good hire for Virginia Tech? Only time is going to tell. James Franklin's won a lot of games. James Franklin clearly has the ability to recruit, but I think the number one question here is what now happens to Penn State football? Because I still maintain when you are at Penn State's level, it is very difficult to improve upon somebody like James Franklin. As mediocre as James is, as unable to beat big programs as James Franklin is, he still won a lot of games on a regular basis at Penn State. And I think that becomes a huge question. Who is the big name that is a candidate for Penn State? And the answer is there are none. Because when you look at guys like Matt Rule and you look at guys like Curt Cignetti, those were the names that supposedly were going to be front and center for Penn State. Well, both those guys signed contract extensions, and not a one whisper exists about somebody like a Lane Kiffin going to Penn State. We have a really good look inside of the Lane Kiffin financials here in a few minutes, but I think the biggest problem now, and it's probably somewhat unfair to Virginia Tech, but the biggest problem now is that Penn State's got a huge problem, and that is doing better than James Franklin. Because I don't think, in my opinion, that it's enough or just okay enough for Penn State to go and hire the best G5 coach that they can find. I don't think it's good enough for Penn State to go and hire a second tier, offensive coordinator. When you fire James Franklin, you can't just go hire anybody that's available to you. You have to go and hit a home run. And at this point, I just don't think Penn State can do that.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really difficult for him when you think about, the jobs that are open and, the candidates that are, even considering leaving their current posts. And obviously there was so much made about, James Franklin's, relationship with the school after they fired him and the fact that he had to look for another job. And a lot of people felt like that in and of itself was wrong. But I feel like for James, like, this was a thing where you're never going to beat the allegations of not winning at the highest level. However, I do think that he can go to Virginia Tech and he has opportunity there. I mean, honestly, if you were to take Virginia Tech and compete for the ACC, that would be a huge improvement. So to me, I think the bar gets lower for him. Obviously, the bar of success is lowered at Virginia Tech, and you can be in a better position. But yeah, I mean, it goes without saying for Penn State, I just don't know who you're going to go and get, because any of the big boys, I'm not sure are super interested in coaching up there. Why would you coach at Penn State when you can coach in the SEC, right? Like, why would you take your family up to, Happy Ending Valley when you can go to the state of Florida, or you can go, to more desirable destinations? And that's what I think is challenging. So, I mean, I don't disagree that Penn State, it's not ideal for them to go after an OC, or, a guy who maybe hasn't ever been a head coach before, or is a head coach at a lower level. But I just don't know that they have access to anything better than that. Really, I don't know who would take that job at this point.
Yeah, I don't even know that that's the question. I think the bigger question is, how do you rebound? I think it is shocking. If you are Penn State, I think it is absolutely shocking that James Franklin got a job before you even have identified a candidate. I don't, if you're Penn State, I think this is an incredibly bad look. If you were going to fire James Franklin, you had better have had, I'm not going to say a handshake or a deal in place. You had better have had a real good idea that Matt Rule wasn't going to sign a contract extension at Nebraska, or you had better have had an idea of who you were going to be able to get to replace him, other than we're just going to do a national search and hope for the best. That's what this is about, because I think James Franklin, for everything that he is, I think James Franklin he did a decent job.
Mm-hmm.
He's not a guy you're going to hire he's not a guy that you're going to hire to win you a national championship, in my opinion. That's just not who the guy is. But I don't also believe that that's where Virginia Tech is. And I think I think this is a big deal for Penn State. I think it's a huge problem because, again, if you look at the other jobs, I think Arkansas is going to wind up with a better candidate than Penn State.
Somehow.
Unless Penn State is I don't know what is even the right word, pulls a rabbit out of the hat. I don't see any way possible that Penn State does better than James Franklin now. I think it is shocking. And this idea, not specifically to you, but to all these jackwagons saying, well, they made him look for a job. That's boilerplate language in every contract in coaching. When you get fired and there's a buyout and the school has to pay you, there is boilerplate language that you will do your best job make your best effort to find a new job to offset their cost. Because if the school owes you $1 million and you get a job for $500,000, now the school only owes you $500,000. It is as simple as that. And I think it is incredible to me that a university like Penn State continues to get it wrong in their athletic department. And I understand that we are saying that just about everybody. LSU obviously has not done very much right since they fired Brian Kelly. Really, since they hired Brian Kelly. Okay, I can almost set that aside because of the governor. And if you look at Penn State, that is should be a massive job. And you're not even in the conversation with the biggest available head coach in Lane Kiffin. You're not even in his ethos or equation. You're not even a possibility for Lane Kiffin. Lane Kiffin would stay at Ole Miss rather than go to Penn State. It would be the biggest shocker in the history of college football if Lane Kiffin ended up at Penn State. I don't even know how I would describe that if Lane Kiffin ended up at Penn State.
Yeah,
he
would never take that job. That is not a job for Lane. That's not, I don't think that Lane is a Big Ten guy, number one. But number two, I think that Lane, I just don't think that that's an attractive opportunity for him, man. I don't think that's what he's, what he's looking for. And I, Obviously there's been a ton of reporting on it, but yeah, I mean, Lane's the number one option, and he's never going to your school. It just is what it is. Like and I think that, people want to sit here and they want to talk about how Penn State is allegedly some great job or some of these other Big Ten opportunities. But if you're the number one candidate in any cycle, I think you're looking towards the SEC first. And if that doesn't work out for you, then I think that, depending on what in the Big Ten is open, then you would consider that. But if you can get, again, if you can get Bama, Florida, LSU, Georgia, I mean, again, in Lane's case, Ole Miss, like there's a reason he's in the SEC. He chose to go that route.
I just think it speaks volumes about how little regard there is for Penn State. And I think it's earned. I mean, I think it's a crappy athletic program. I think as far as your ability to recruit high-level coaches, they're going to have to, at this point, I would think, they're going to wind up with a secondary candidate. And I think they've earned that. I don't think that what is it about Penn State that's special or unique that you can't get in any SEC job? It's not money. I mean, money is if you're Lane Kiffin or any of the top, hell, Eli Drinkwitz, you can get money anywhere you want. You can get money anywhere you want. Is Eli Drinkwitz going to leave Missouri to go to Penn State? I don't know. I would hope that if you are Penn State that you can pull a guy from Missouri to take your job. I would hope so. But it doesn't appear that that's a slam dunk.
No.
And I just, again, go back to what is Penn State going to do to improve James Franklin? And I'm telling you, they are not going to be able to improve on James Franklin. They're not. And I think it is a really dark day when James Franklin gets a job and your number one candidate is supposedly Brian Daboll from the Giants. That's who the new hottest name in Penn State country is. Brian Daboll is supposedly the hot candidate at Penn State. I mean, that's where you are as a university. You're hiring a guy with no relevant college experience. How is that possible?
Because you're just not an attractive job. Like this is why I say, like, everyone who wanted to argue with me about this concept of these schools wanting to just fire guys left and right and fire this guy and fire that guy. And, like maybe you should be more grateful for where they've gotten you. Maybe when we look back 5 years from now and Daboll, let's say, is struggling to win, or whoever you decide to hire is struggling to get where James Franklin got, you're going to look back and you're going to say, yeah, maybe we should have just been okay with the CFP appearances or the almost getting there level performance. Like, I don't know what else to say. Like, it's at some point, these schools have to understand that there's not just, a whole treasure trove of coaches who can take you to the CFP and do what, Signetti's doing, or do what Lane's doing, or do what, Ryan Day's doing. Those guys don't just fall off of trees, man. And now what I think is even funnier is that, this LSU situation with Brian Kelly just solidifies the fact that there are some administrators out there who all they care about is not paying guys and not valuing what they have. And then they're going to complain about it when they look back and they're like, yeah, like maybe we didn't win championships, but, at least we were relevant. At least our team was good. At least people wanted to play here, and that's the hard part. Like, at least with LSU or any of the SEC jobs, like, at least you're still going to get talent because it's the SEC. I don't think it's any guarantee that if you were to hire a mediocre ass head coach for the Penn State job, it's no guarantee that you would still be a program that players wanted to play for. You're not that good, right? You're not like there are programs out there that every kid grows up wanting to play for. And I don't view Penn State as that program unless you grew up in that town.
Yeah, and the hard part is I look at somebody like, again, Brian Daboll, who's supposedly the hot new name. He has not coached in college in a decade. I think, or less of it. What was it? 2018, I guess. He was the OC for that year at Alabama. I mean, you're talking about hiring a guy who completely failed as the head coach of the New York Giants and has not been a college coach in 8 years, not 7 years. And you think that's going to be what gets you? It's crazy to me. And it again just shows you that I think Penn State is absolutely desperate. Absolutely desperate. And I don't know how you fix that, because I honestly thought Mike Elko was their best fit. I thought Mike Elko was the right guy, very unassuming, very under the radar, can recruit, obviously understands money, understands the portal, understands player development, because I think one of the things at Penn State you have to do is portal and retain. It's really important. And he signed an extension this weekend. So you're just running out of dudes.
Yeah,
and
maybe you should have went and paid Buddy at Nebraska. Maybe you should have gone after Matt Rule a little harder. Maybe you should have overpaid to get him, or maybe you should have overpaid to get somebody else. Like, I'm not going to sit here and feel bad for Penn State. Like, this is a bet that they made, and now it's their time to lay in it, man. Like, you decided it wasn't good enough to have him. And I agree that he's not a national championship guy, but maybe once every 10 years, right? I mean, that's honestly the prospect with James Franklin in the Big Ten. But if he makes the CFP even one and done 5 out of those years, 6 out of those years, you're in a way better position than you are right now, because you're going to hire someone and then you're going to have to sell us as to why that was the right hire. No one's going to buy it.
Yeah, it's remarkable to me that Brian Daboll is your guy, and he's really got 1 year, and I should probably look it up before I open my mouth, but he's got 1 year of relevant college coaching experience, and that was as the co-offensive coordinator at Alabama. Now, they won the national championship that year, right? But I think that's his only relevant year for Brian Daboll. And he immediately went to the Buffalo Bills that year. So he goes from the Bills to the Giants, and now he's out of a job, and he becomes your instant number 1 candidate, which is crazy. Brian Daboll was the co-offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach at Alabama in 2017. And his only other coaching experience in college is as a grad assistant at Michigan State. And that is your leading candidate to be your head coach. That's crazy to me. And again, I'm just going to say, every time a guy gets hired or signs an extension, the domino effect it's incredible. And this whole thing with James, I think it's crazy that James Franklin got a job before you even got close. James Franklin gets a job before you even get close.
Yeah, what are you supposed to do? Go after Brian Kelly now? Is that what Penn State's going to do?
Nah, Brian Kelly's not a guy at Penn State. I mean, listen, I think again, are you Penn State? Are you going to hire a guy in Brian Kelly who won't take calls from recruits? That doesn't seem like probably your best move. I mean, I don't know. I'm more excited to talk coaching than games. Like, I think it is fascinating. And anytime you can see Penn State drowning in misery, I'm all for it. I think when you're a bunch of chomos, you shouldn't have a football program in the first place. So I'm a huge fan of watching Penn State suffer, but I am really interested to see where they go. Really interested to see where they go, because you also have to remember a ton of graduation at Penn State this year. So you're going to turn over a ton of talent. And in the bigger picture of things, if you look at where the Big Ten is now, like, interesting times. Here's a legit question. Should USC extend Lincoln Riley. And everybody's going to be like, oh, what? No. Who do you get that's better than Lincoln Riley?
Nobody, which is why you should extend him.
So USC and Lincoln Riley have had preliminary, very baseline, hey, do you like it here? Do you like me here? Let's conversations. And why did that happen? Because Auburn and Florida are interested in Lincoln Riley. And justifiably so. Again, I agree. His defense leaves a lot to be desired. Anybody see Jaden Mayava this weekend? Did anybody? And I know most people that watch this show probably did not watch the USC game. You're missing out because that offense is, it's not good. It is spectacular. And now obviously he's got to make the trip up north this weekend. He's going to go hug trees at Autzen, but USC's offense is, I mean, goddamn. Jaden Mayava, the development of Jaden Mayava, the fact that they were dead in the water. Iowa had them at the half. I thought Iowa was winning the game. What was it, 21-10 at the half? And did I mention that Iowa got shut out in the second half by Lincoln Riley's really bad defense at USC? And Jaden Mayava goes in a driving rainstorm, 254 yards and a touchdown. King Miller, who I think is the most underrated running back in all of college football, 19 for 83, averages 4.5 yards on the ground. And Mekhi Lemon continues to be, I think, a top 5 wide receiver in all of college football. 10 for 153 and a touchdown. And just running away from guys, because he's the guy that everybody says can't run. They say that Lemon can't run, he's too slow, and he just runs away from dudes. And now you're headed up to Autzen as a 10.5 point dog. USC is a 10.5 point dog. And they think it's going to be a shootout because the number's 16.5. Should USC extend Lincoln Riley, Jake? I think they have no choice. I think they absolutely need to.
Yeah, it's undeniable. I mean, have you not learned the lesson? Have you not watched the market and, seen the position that other schools are in? I mean, have you not seen the progression of the program? Like, I agree that Lincoln's defense can be, quite frankly, a handicap in certain weeks. It just is. But the reality is it's also better, and they're better, and clearly headed the right direction. And, this is a good win for them over the weekend. I think the Oregon game is actually a really good test for them. I think the casual is going to say that Oregon's going to beat them by 3 possessions and just run them out of Autzen. And I don't agree with that. I think that we need to see what kind of USC team shows up, because the best version of USC this year can keep up with Oregon, in my opinion, for sure. If they play their best game, they're right in the middle of it with Oregon, in my opinion. Now, will they show up? That's a different story, bro. That's a different story. But there's no question that they're a better team. And so if you're USC, you can't afford for Lincoln Riley to leave. You've been on the coaching carousel for, it must be 10 years. You've been waiting for an established figure to really come in there and hold that thing down for, a decade. 15 years, a long run where you don't have to ask who's our next head coach. All you got to ask is, what was the recruiting class looking like this year? I mean, that's 2 different worlds to be operating in if you're a program like USC. So I don't think that there's any question about it. And I really only think the conversation, based on watching Lincoln on the sideline this weekend and the emotion he coaches with, and just the way that game kind of went for them, I think the only question is, what are they going to have to pay him to extend him? Because I'm not convinced that dude wants to move across the country and leave USC. I think that he likes what he's doing there. But, if you're gonna sit there and roll out, 15 a year for him, that's he's got to consider that at that point.
Yeah, I think that Lane Kiffin would not today be who he is if he hadn't gotten fired at USC. And I think when you go to to USC like Lincoln Riley did, and now you struggle the way he struggled, and you rebuild that program from the ground up, and you have what is now today and arguably the number one incoming recruiting class. And then in 2027, you're on schedule to have the number one recruiting class back-to-back years. And you have turned guys like, again, King Miller, I think, is a great example. You've turned King Miller into an absolute stud. You've turned Jade Mayava into the number one rated quarterback in the Big Ten. You, without question, have the best offense in the Big Ten. I understand why he's a candidate for jobs. I understand it. You need talent and you need offense in the SEC to win. And you better have a defense, because I think, again, what we're seeing, and we're going to talk Texas here in a minute, but what you're seeing is that Georgia's got a pretty good defense, right? And Georgia, again, finds themselves in a great spot. But my point is, I think when you start looking at all this stuff, I really have no idea how on earth James Franklin got a job before Penn State even identified a league candidate. I'm stunned by it. I am absolutely stunned by it. So I say, hey, congratulations to James Franklin. It feels like a huge win. I think this is a really tough spot. This is a really tough spot for Penn State to be in my opinion. I think it's a really tough spot. Joey Harper, any big name SEC coach taking a Big Ten job, to me, is a step backwards. I think it's an easier road to the playoff in the Big Ten. You know, if you're a guy like Lane Kiffin is the number one candidate in college football. And there's a lot of buzz around Lane Kiffin right now. Lane Kiffin, according to sources, said no, not right now, to the idea of signing an extension at Ole Miss. Not no, I'm going to leave, but no, not right now. And I think if you're Lane Kiffin, and I understand Ole Miss wanting to sign an extension with Lane Kiffin. I get that. You don't replace Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss. You simply do not. He has got a really good defense and a really good offense. I don't know how you replace him. But, Jake, I think it would be a tactical mistake for Lane Kiffin to sign an extension now.
Yeah, I think it's just not what anybody would advise you to do. I think, Lane needs to get all the options on the table. And when I say options, I mean, he needs to know every school that's open to hiring him, who's a serious player. Obviously, every school and their mom would hire Lane Kiffin, but the ones that are actually serious players, including the ones we as the public know about and the ones we don't know about. So he needs every single option on the table. He needs to know what the total comp package is for each option. And then he needs to know what his family thinks about each option. And then he's got to weigh it out, So signing an extension right now just doesn't make any sense. You wouldn't sign an extension because, frankly, whether Lane wants to admit it or not, you're already a head coaching free agent. That's just what it is. You're considering all your options, and you're gonna make a decision. But Lane is not immune to understanding, timing and like how important it is to make a decision, in a reasonable amount of time, especially considering when the transfer portal is and like, where, just what it all looks like nowadays, how, if he waits till December to make a decision versus, making a decision tomorrow. I mean, all these things, obviously have a huge impact. And so there was no way you were ever going to sign an extension, but I think people want to make a huge deal out of that. They want to say, oh man, it's for sure that he's leaving. I think what's for sure is that Lane Kiffin loves what he's doing on the football field right now, but also loves the fact that he's got people beating down his door to hire him. And I can't blame him for that. It's an elite position to be in.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And if I'm Lane Kiffin, I'm not signing an extension until I have some conversations. I think that's making a mistake. I still think Clark Lee, Are you sure he's at Vandy? I thought he was at Poughkeepsie State. Would be a good head coach at Penn State. Penn State has better, the first thing, facilities. More money for NIL and much and more rich donors than Vandy. Okay. Yeah, nobody, you can put facilities last on that list. But I get it. Big John Buck. You know, another name to watch is Matt Patricia, John. Because that's probably the best defense in the country. And I have to believe that he's going to get some, Matt Patricia's going to get some phone calls. Because of the arrogance of some people in charge of Penn State, that program could be in trouble for several years. I think it's just like Michigan. I think Michigan thought, oh, we'll just, lie, cheat, and steal our way to a championship. And then, in 2037, we'll go independent. Did you see that nonsense today? Michigan seriously considering going independent after the grant of rights in 2037 expires. First of all, you're not going independent. You cheating scumbags. You're not going independent. Nobody would help you. You would be on an island all to yourself, which is, I hope, what you do. Nobody would help you. Nobody. But that's just me and stuff, which is fine. Let's see. Joey says Matt Patricia, Ohio State D coordinator at Penn State. Would that make sense? I don't think so. I don't think so either. There's something. It's very interesting. Like Brian Hartline's really, really interesting. I think Brian Hartline gets the job at Iowa State if Matt Campbell leaves. And I think Brian Hartline would take the job and then go back to Ohio State when Ryan Day's done, when Ryan Day decides to walk away. I do not believe that Brian Hartline would take the job at Penn State. I don't think he would do that.
Nah. Honestly,
I don't. Deliric, Brian Kelly sits for a year, then goes to the NFL as a coordinator. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think, certainly Penn State's not going to hire Brian Kelly at this point. I think there's probably litigation coming between Brian Kelly and LSU. So, we'll see. Joey, that could actually make sense. Matt Patricia learned under Bill Belichick. Do you know what it did? Anyway, has been in the pros in college. Matt Patricia is from New England. That makes a lot of sense. What makes a lot of sense? It doesn't make a lot of sense for Matt. You think Matt Patricia is going to go to Penn State? I don't think about that. I don't think so. Hey, Monty, how about the first place Chicago Bears? Yeah, we'll get there hopefully today. Long way to go. Long way to go.
Certainly it feels good, though. Come on.
Long way to go. Hey, Tone, Lane Kiffin can be poached by USC. He wouldn't go back. I mean, no reason for him to go back. I mean, you're either staying in, I think he's staying in Ole Miss, but there is this story today that I think is interesting. LSU is preparing a $125 million offer for Lane Kiffin. $125 million. Would you pay Lane Kiffin $125 million?
I mean, I think
it's a lot of bread, dude. That is a lot of money.
Yeah, it's a lot of money. I think though that more than the total, it's it's what's the buyout look like? How many years? What are you? What other comp stuff is included? If it's mostly about the money and not as much about other perks, then I guess I get it. But like I said, I think that this is largely a situation where someone needs to come in as a heavy hitter, and that's what this is. Hey, we're going to come in. We're going to come with a lot of money. We're going to make it very clear just how much we want Lane Kiffin. And we're going to hope that that's enough to lure him away from Ole Miss. I mean, because that's what it has to be, especially from LSU's side. I mean, you come in with a $17 million offer, let's say, per year. That's not, that's not really, that doesn't really inflict fear and still fear in anyone, but if you come in at 20 plus, now it's like, all right, these guys aren't playing around, dude. That's a serious offer that we're gonna have trouble competing with.
I am told that would be a 6-year offer for $20.8 million per season, and he would have full control of the football department. That's good money, dude. How do you say no to that? And if you're Florida, you can't really match that. Can the University of Florida go $21 million for Lane Kiffin? That doesn't seem likely. That does not seem likely at all.
I don't know, man. I would agree, but then I'm like, well, in today's day and age with boosters and donors and all these people that surround these programs, like if you get the right guy in the room that motivates some people, anything's possible when you're talking about billionaires and millionaires, dude. Anything,
bro.
Like
that is a lot of money.
It's a want to conversation. Like, yes, Florida wants Lane Kiffin, LSU wants Lane Kiffin, but now I believe LSU has done the right thing here and gotten in front of it. Hey, we were the first to offer you. Depending on what Florida comes up with, we're also offering you the most. Like, come be the coach. Come do this. And if you're Lane Kiffin, you cannot do anything until you know what Florida's offering you. And by extension, Ole Miss. Ole Miss, you can't tell me Ole Miss isn't prepared to up the number.
But look at Florida. If you don't get Lane Kiffin, where do you even go? Where do you even go? And this is why I continue to ask, is there a significant fall off? Are we lacking quality head coaching candidates in college football? I tend to think we are, because if you go from Lane Kiffin and you miss on Lane Kiffin at Florida, I would assume your first phone call is going to be Brent Key. Jeff Brom allegedly is close to an extension at Louisville. So I maintain that Eli Drinkwitz at Missouri should be the number 1A candidate for every open job. And I have to think, to me, I don't know that Brent Key's done enough at Georgia Tech to justify him being where he is. I think that is a real question. And if Auburn hires, and let's just do the math, I think Auburn's number 1 candidate is probably, I would have to think John Summerall or Lincoln Riley. I think USC is going to do everything they can do to keep Lincoln Riley, and they have the assets and resources to win. And so I have to assume Auburn's number 1 candidate is John Summerall. Okay, so then if we say John Summerall's taking the Auburn job, let's say Lane Kiffin goes to LSU. I think Florida has to go all in on Lincoln or Eli Drinkwitz, and I think it has to be Lincoln Riley, because I think Lincoln Riley is a significantly more attractive candidate just on recruiting alone than is Eli Drinkwitz. Not that Eli's a bad recruit. Look what he's done with Perdula, and look what, he's put talent in the NFL. He's got talent on that roster, but not at the level that, Lincoln Riley has had a quarterback everywhere he's ever been every year. And again, I just ask you, did you see, and I will ask every week, have you seen what he's doing with Jaden Mayava? I think I've asked that every single Monday or Tuesday on the show. You look at what Lincoln's doing with Jaden Mayava. You look at the way he's tuned him up. You look at the way he's improved. You look at the way that they lead the Big Ten in offense. Can you imagine Lincoln Riley at Florida with all of the Florida money, with the Jordan money, with the new influx of revenue that comes from the swamp renovation, all of that money? And you just hand that to Lincoln Riley. You give him a GM that he was willing to work with. Dude, the talent alone in the state of Florida makes him the ideal candidate for that job. And I think, so again, I go back, right? Because if we look at the names that we've heard about for Penn State. I haven't really heard about any big names at Penn State. You just haven't. If it wasn't Matt Rule, contract extension, then they immediately allegedly pivoted to Cignetti, contract extension, off the table. So again, I say all these other openings, I can tell you who the top 2-3 candidates are. I can tell you, that Auburn and DJ Durkin or Clark Lee, or you look at Oklahoma State and it's probably Kane Womack is allegedly Alabama's defensive coordinator, Kane Womack, who I think is going to be a great head coach. But at Oklahoma State, you better hire an offensive guy. But what the fuck do I know, right? But it sounds like Kane Womack is a big to-do. Like, I cannot tell you that Penn State is the lead for anybody, because I'd have told you if it hadn't happened, Mike Elko would have been the guy. I'd have been like, dude, they're going to get Elko. They're going to get Elko because without question, I would think Penn State's a higher profile job than A&M. But then it comes out that A&M's going to throw an entire fucking bank vault at him to make sure that he doesn't leave.
But that's what you have to do.
Yes.
I'm saying, like, Penn State's playing around. Penn State's playing games. Penn State is not committed to going and getting their guy. Like, I've really moved on from, it's so expensive, all this money. Okay, well, that's today's day and age, bro. Like, if you're not willing to go out and cough up 20 a year to get your guy, you're not really trying to win a ball game, dude. You're not trying to go to the promised land. Like,
I would agree.
I'm sorry, but like, that's today's college football. Like, $8 million a year, 10 a year is nothing. That's not good enough anymore, man. The market says it's not good enough anymore.
Yeah, but again, A&M can throw money at anyone and with anyone. I think I think it's really interesting to see all these dominoes. And again, I don't mean to be redundant. The fact that James Franklin, and if the money is true that we're hearing, his buyout for Penn State's now $9 million. So conceivably, you have a lot more money to pay a head coach top dollar. Who are they going to overpay for? Can you throw extra money at a Brian Hartline to get him to talk to you? Because now it feels like that's the level of move they're going to have to make. Like West Virginia going back and getting Rich Rod, fantastic move in my opinion.
What about Jed Fish? If you're Penn State, what about Jed Fish?
I've lost some respect for Jed. If this stuff is, I would be really surprised if he right now leaves Washington. I'd be really disappointed. I'd be really, really disappointed because I just don't know. Why would you do that? Why would you already be leaving Washington?
Well, allegedly, again, no actual facts. Allegedly, his family is not a huge fan of Seattle. Allegedly. Now, if that's true or not, I have no idea. But there was some reporting, I think 2 weeks ago, about the fact that they weren't really loving Seattle and like it just wasn't their cup of tea or whatever. So I don't know if that's true or not though. But if it is true, my point is that's another name that, that's a lower profile name that, has experience. Not amazing, but solid.
Yeah. I don't. If I'm Jed Fish, I am not. I get it. Family's a pull, dude. I understand. But if it truly is a distance thing, doesn't he take the UCLA job then? I think that job. With this stadium thing, I don't know. This is what I mean. Like all these jobs are so interesting and the little dynamics inside of each one of these jobs. And you guys all laughed at me when I said UCLA was going to spend a ton of money to rebuild their ability to compete, right? I told you how many weeks ago that they were going to get $500 million in capital injection, and they are going to spend that money to try and get back to being a football program. And what do we immediately hear? You fired your coach and you are leaving the Rose Bowl. which I've told you for how long is a major, major problem for them. The Rose Bowl is a major problem for them. Major. So they're going to pay between $40 and $60 million to get out of their lease after this season. I would say that's a massive injection of capital. And then you're going to go and pay a coach, his staff, and all of the infrastructure to win football games. It's going to be a good job. It's not a good job now. I think it's going to be a good job.
Yeah.
And again, I know this pisses off Oregon fans every time I say it. You know who I'm going to say you should hire. You should drive. Hell, I don't care if you got a Forrest Gump and walk up there because you're so broke from the buyout at the Rose Bowl. I don't care. Go and pack Will Stein's shit for him and move it to SoFi Stadium. Because you got to hire that guy. You have got to go and get a West Coast guy. And just the more I look at the UCLA job, the more I believe it's going to be a really, really good job. It's going to be a really good job. Now, will they force you to keep Jerry Neuheisel? Okay, some conversations around that. But it's going to be a really good job. It's going to be a really, really good job. Big Pontiff. Penn State can go back to Bill O'Brien. Yeah, how bad is Boston College right now? Oof.
Dude said Penn State.
He did. He said Penn State. I'm here for it. Chad Carter for $5. Chad, how are you? Hope the well is still flowing. Leave Hartline alone. Dude, he's just such a good developer of talent. You understand that's the thing about Brian Hartline. Like, yes, he can recruit. And it doesn't matter if you can recruit. You need that. That should be like the bare minimum, right? But again, I'll go back to Lincoln. What does it matter if you recruit if you can't turn those guys into something? If you bring King Miller to Los Angeles and he is not a stud running back for you, what does it matter? If Jaden Mayava transfers to USC and never plays, what does it matter? If you want to recruit and develop talent, go hire Brian Hartline, because I think he might be the best in the country right now. Because Chad and every other Ohio State fan that watches this show, I don't have to tell you guys, look at the talent he's brought in and look how well they grow. Look at their development every year. Look at how well coached the wide receivers. Look at how cohesive the offense is. Look at the way like I was watching their game this weekend because I happen to be a sadistic quarterback lover. And Sayan looks fine, by the way. Everybody was saying, oh, he broke his ankle. Shut up. He looks fine. Anyway, the point is, look at the way that Sayan understands and speaks that silent language with his receivers. Yes, a lot of that's Ryan Day. But Ryan Day's got a whole bunch of responsibilities. Brian Hartline is the guy coordinating and building and growing and layering that offense in Columbus. And I'm telling you, there are few better in this country that recruit and develop their recruits than Brian Hartline. And I think he is a perfect fit at Iowa State if Matt Campbell leaves there, which some believe he will, because I think Matt Campbell would be a great hire at Penn State. You'll never hear from him. He'll win games. You'll never hear from Matt Campbell.
And if we know that, except for when he talks about cutting budget, So I hope we don't get that rolled out at Penn State.
Yeah, that one's still stuck in my craw too. Like, I hate that. I just, that whole thing to me. Yeah. Okay. Well, Marcus wants you to know that the shirt's a distraction and it takes away from the vest, Jake.
You can just say I look good. You don't have to sugarcoat it, bro. It's all good.
No, you don't look good. The shirt's a distraction.
All right, cool, man.
So,
thank you.
Two, who is to blame more for the James Franklin Penn State limited success? Limits of James Franklin's capability as a coach, or Penn State and their past? I think their past gets easier to overcome with every year because it fades further and further away. It's not an issue for most guys. Honestly, it's not. And I think James Franklin just doesn't have the nuts it takes to win big games, which is why you go and take the job at Va-Tech. Right?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's more job security for him at Va-Tech, just generally speaking. I think that the bar of success is lower. I think your path to the CFP is easier. And I think that James Franklin is a guy who at this stage you hire because you want to take a program that's got heritage but does not have success, and you want to launch it into the modern day. And his biggest issue is that he's too coach speaky and not dynamic enough to recruit a high-level quarterback.
100%.
So, you know,
100%, which is why you were stuck with average ass Aller.
I don't want to hear any bitching about the location of the airport at Va-Tech either, James. Don't want to hear any complaining about airports or anything like that. Just go and do the job and get to the CFP. Then you can have your requests.
I just think it's so difficult when you're like Lane Kiffin's a great example of this. How do you not talk about this? And Lane Kiffin's being asked about taking other jobs on a regular basis.
Set aside the Kiffin to Florida talk, and do you let your representatives kind of handle all those machinations kind of going on? And what's kind of, I guess, your message to, Ole Miss fans? I mean, talking to some of them before the game, a lot of them are just like, we just kind of want some clarity here.
Okay. I feel like you're a Florida guy. I don't think we were distracted. 538 yards today for an offense seems pretty focused. So we've been dealing with what people would say been a distraction for weeks now, including at Oklahoma, who's a pretty good team. So I think it's different nowadays. I told you, I think kids think differently. They're getting pre-portaled every Saturday night. They play well from other people. So I just talk to them and say, hey, that's part of the process, man. When you guys play really well, these things happen. Your coach gets talked about, and it ain't the first year it's happened around here. So I don't think it's a problem.
Lane Kiffin talking about other jobs. Pre-portaled. Every week we get pre-portaled.
It's a great term.
You do,
it's
and he's doing the same thing. And if you're not, you're missing it, right? Like you've got to go recruit kids from everywhere, from every corner of the country, from the Iraq, you name it, everywhere. You have to go and recruit kids. The Iraq. Thank you. You have to go and recruit, even from Afghanistan, right? Like you have to go and you got to go and recruit kids. And I think it's really tough to be one of the guys on those lists. Chewy Gonzalez,
hungry, bro. You got to be hungry, man. And not to cut you off, but I think here's a trend. Coaches who aren't hungry enough to go out and get big-time quarterbacks are no longer employed. So might want to take notes. Hey, if you look around college football, all those guys that still have jobs, let's see. So Lincoln Riley, Dan Lanning, some guy named Kirby Smart, some guy named Ryan Day. By the way, the guys who are struggling, and again, we'll get to Arch, but Sark trying to figure it out at Texas with the O-line and the quarterback and the wide receivers.
That was not his fault, dude. That was
I'm not saying it was his fault.
You're such a dick.
I'm not saying it was his
Jake
fault.
hates Arch Manning, and he loves to just.
No escaping.
He loves it.
Sark,
he loves to hate
bro,
him.
At the end of the season, I want accountability for the fact that you did not do a good enough job recruiting your O-line and your wide receiver room.
Thank you.
After the CFP run against Arizona State. Because Arch is playing better, but when he has no one to throw to and he's running for his life against a defense that somehow you buffoons questioned on Friday, I just look around college football and I say, yeah, you know what? Like, you can't be a one-sided football team.
You can't have 11 passes from Arch Manning that should have been caught that were either dropped or incomplete. 11.
Including
and what that
at
means,
least 3 of them that should have been touchdowns.
That means 11 throws that were incomplete were on the frame of the wide receiver. If he'd have been, because he was, 27 of 43 or something like that. let's say I'm right, and he completed 27 passes, I think is pretty sure. 38 of 43. They win the game. They win the game, and we can sit here and we can go round and round. And I'm happy to put a foot on your throat, jerk.
Sucking a ding dong.
It wasn't Arch's fault. He has to be better. There's no question. But I am telling you now that when I look at Steve Sarkisian, he is the prototype. Hell, I would even look at Kirby Smart. Look at how good Gunnar Stockton is. How good was Gunnar Stockton in this game?
Yeah.
Gunnar Stockton was really good.
I would agree. Kirby has won. And I'm not going to sit here and say that Sark is yet the blueprint. He needs to prove he can win at the highest level still.
He has to win. That's the only thing.
Yeah.
And I say the only thing. It's a huge hole in his resume.
Yeah. And I think that there's a lot on the line. And I think that, again, I was mentioning timing earlier with Lane. If you, let's say that, and it's not going to get announced publicly, right? So expectations. But let's say that Lane Kiffin doesn't privately make it known where he's going before the CFP. You're taking a risk, dude. You're taking a huge risk, because at that point, if you flame out in the CFP and don't win a game, now people are going to ask questions, because nobody's forgotten why Penn State fired James Franklin.
Right.
But I just think that there are these guys, Sark, Dan Lanning, Lane Kiffin, certainly Lincoln Riley, who are these guys who are like the next guys up to be the best coaches in college football that need to win still. So again, if Lane Kiffin takes Chambliss and Ole Miss to, let's say, the CFP final, that's the blueprint, bro. In my opinion, Ryan Day is the blueprint right now. Ryan Day and Kirby Smart are the two best coaches in college football. They've won. They always have a quarterback. They've always got a defense, and it's just a question of how many playmakers they got in the wide receiver room.
And that's why I say I think Sark is right there. He's got to win. You're exactly right. He's got to win, because he's got that defense is
keeping them close. They would have lost by more.
You've got to find. He's got to go and get wide receivers. I agree with that. Back to Chewy. The coaching market is like going to prom. Assume all the pretty girls are taken, and then you end up with the ugly girl like Gundy and Aranda. Jesus Christ. Is Dave Aranda still alive? Did you guys see the absolute thumping that the school you love to hate absolutely crushed Koresh and the boys in Waco?
The Wolf of Wall Street.
Oh my God, 8-Ball is dead. Like, Utah absolutely beat wholesale ass.
We don't take any shit.
That was unbelievable. It made my soul. I felt better. It was redemption when you did. Anyway. Yeah, Gatorade revenge game. I was going to say it. I didn't want to. I didn't want to. Gregorio. Monty, I have one question. Do you actually believe the Aggies can win it all? I do not. I know. It hurts, doesn't it? I don't. I just don't think they're as talented or as deep. Because if you ask me who's the very best team in college football right now, bro, I think that's a really tough question to answer. And I don't know. I still maintain it's Ohio State. I think Julian Sayin is fantastic. I think Georgia, Ole Miss are better than Texas A&M. I think that top five, those are the five best teams in the country. I have real question marks about the mistakes that Texas A&M continues to, like, the Missouri game should have been kind of a shot over the bow, because the defense, there's something amiss I just don't love some of the things we see. There's just stretches where that Texas A&M defense doesn't look great, right? And you give up 200 rushing yards to Mizzou, and you're like, okay, well, you were excellent. They had 284 total yards, but 200 yards rushing? You're like, well, aberration. Like, it ain't no thing. We held the ball for 35 minutes in that game. Okay, well, then what happened against South Carolina? Well, Monty, South Carolina had the ball for 29 minutes. You had it for 30. And you gave them every opportunity they needed to stay in the game. And if South Carolina doesn't commit a couple of really stupid penalties, does Texas A&M lose that game? I think they do.
But they didn't.
I think they did, but they didn't. But they did. There's just some flaws in it that I don't love.
Yeah, I think that part of it too is it's just the grind of the season. You know, I don't disagree with that assessment, but I mean the reality is they put up 30 on you in the first half. Like you didn't show up in the first half, and I anytime it's that lopsided in the first half of a game, I'm not looking at anything statistical. That is you as a team not showing up and not just not being ready to play.
Well, and I think, but I also think when you have a guy like Marcel Reed, he's really good. He is really, really good. But these five right here are the five best teams in the country. I don't have any doubt about it. I think what Lane Kiffin's doing at Ole Miss is nothing short of spectacular. I think if Gunnar Stockton's going to play the way he played against a really good Texas defense, they can win the whole damn thing. I think Indiana's defense, Fernando Mendoza is going to win the Heisman. And obviously, I think Ohio State is the best total package in college football. I'm not even sure I question that. Boyd Lake, what's up, Boyd Lake? They survived 1-point game versus Notre Dame and SC. Arkansas came close. So did Auburn. Aggies can be had. I think so. And it makes me nervous. Easy. A&M was looking ahead, but you don't do that in the schedule thinking it was a bye week. Well, this is your bye week, right? I'm trying not to be harsh. You're 10-0. You're 10-0. You better go to DKR and win that game because you'll get derailed by Georgia, because I think Georgia is a really, really good football team. And if you're Ole Miss, my opinion is Ole Miss is in the catbird seat. They're right now not in position to play for a conference championship. And you've got Mississippi State, one game left on Thanksgiving. You're in the catbird seat. They're in great shape. They should be 11-1, surefire. Almost no doubt Ole Miss is going to the college football playoff, right?
Yeah, no question about it.
Yeah. D-Rock, poor timing. Those lower schools should be scheduled in early parts of the season, not as an extra bye week for your starters towards the end of the season. Totally agree. South Carolina thought the game was over after half because they got ran out of town. They really did. King of Thailand, I am here, boys. Give me the fuck off tour. I was very surprised Saturday. What? Wait, what? Yeah, you can just go ahead and leave. You just,
got anything to say, quite frankly, fuck you.
Yeah, go to the beach. Go to the beach.
Hey, here, let me satiate you, okay? Let me do you a favor, because we're going to retread what your ass head coach had to say about this game.
Like this is a must-win for this team when it comes to something.
Absolutely not. It is not an ACC game. I'm glad you brought that up. It's not an ACC game. I gladly get beat 103 or 110 to 10 in that game. They can put 100 up on us as long as we win the next two after that. But again, our focus is on Notre Dame and getting as many wins as we can.
Man, wow. Jake, you're insane, dude. What do you mean Notre Dame's going to beat the piss out of Pitt? Oh, wow, dude, man. Ran all over your ass, beat your ass into the ground on defense. Sorry, dude. Man, I know, God, this vaunted Pitt team that I should just be shaking in my boots, Monty. Okay. All right. Nice, dude. Nice.
And I'll see you in Valhalla.
Please.
We don't take any shit.
Notre Dame, our mother.
Poser ass
And
team.
I mean, listen, I just I told you guys that they were going to blow out Pitt. I told you we're the best team in the country. Best running back in college football, Jeremiah Love. Anybody see what he averaged per carry? I don't seem to remember. I want to say it was 37 yards a carry or so. Oh, it's 6.4 for 147. That's right. Yeah. I said Notre Dame, our mother, like 5 times now. Pittsburgh didn't need that win and will not win anymore the rest of the season.
Yeah, I know it's not an ACC game, Pat, so it doesn't really matter that you got your ass kicked on national TV. But, it's just, again, I know you said before the game, it would be fine to lose like 110-3. Well, you got halfway there, dude. So congratulations. At least you did that. Nice.
And I would just like to say, best of luck to the guy that got knocked the fuck out by Aiden Schuler. Good luck to you, buddy.
Brother.
Enjoy the rest of your not playing college football life. See, I know I don't know ball if you read the comments section on this show. I don't know anything. But what happens when Aiden Schuler decides not to play the ball, but he plays the man?
Wow.
Thoracic injuries occur. He was incredible. I thought Tay Johnson was incredible. The interception with the pick six. Some guy Mason Heinzel shit himself as a true freshman. Thanks for coming. Missed you when you were out of the game. It felt good. Marty don't know ba exactly. Yeah, can you please play the drop? Are you confused? I've only said Notre Dame, our mother, like 7 times.
Notre Dame, our mother.
This isn't about Notre Dame. This is about Pitt being
No, it's not.
Too much, dude.
It's always about Notre Dame. It's always about Notre Dame.
Venice parade.
So effing Pitt could not win the one time I wanted them to win. Just another reason to hate them. Why are you rooting against me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Marcus says, play the goddamn drop, Jake. Don't you know your job?
Yeah.
And then he
Apparently
says, no,
not,
you're rolling. Shut your mouth.
Yeah. I know you're a TV executive, and so now you can call for drops, and, I get
No,
it.
you're rolling. Shut your mouth.
I get it, bro. I get it. By the
Florida
way,
or
if you're gonna, if you're gonna poll Kansas City Chief drops, they might want to win some ball games at some point. Now that we're talking about ass teams on the program.
Other than the fact I got all of my game predictions wrong, this is a really good weekend of football.
We keeping a book.
I was very happy. I was very happy with the Kansas City Chiefs losing, and Trav had to hurry home and get beached up by that alien-looking girl. So much so that Trav, you scumbag, couldn't even meet with the media. Oh, wait, so you're not a media darling and nobody watches your podcast then when you guys lose. Is that what you're saying? How about Travis Kelce refusing to talk to the media after the loss?
Oh, poor Will guy.
Poor
Didn't
little
want to talk to
Twabby.
the media.
Twabby.
Better send those refunds.
Yeah. Hey, you guys got dismantled. David Persons, member of the show for 10 months. Dude. Did you guys see the absolute BYU did exactly what I said they needed to do. They got people fired and ended careers at TCU.
Yeah.
That was I don't even know what that was. That was an absolute end of, that was proof of life for BYU. Like, unbelievable that that's the singular best game I have seen Bear Bachmeier play. I left that game so impressed with his bounce back that you put up 44 points and the BYU offense didn't score 44 points. The Bear Bachmeiers scored 44 points. He's 296 and a touchdown, averaging 9 yards of completion, throwing the ball to the right side of the formation, which he just wasn't doing. Significantly better mechanics. Like, I am really impressed with what that kid went through at Texas Tech. To come back and beat TCU and complete 70% of your passes. I think this was his best performance. It was, I think it's exactly what BYU needed. This is the game. And I know every BYU fan will disagree with me. This is the game that Bear Bachmeier arrived in Provo. This one right here, where they absolutely took TCU apart offensively. You broke BYU, you broke TCU's balls offensively in this game. They got dominated by the BYU defense. Dominated. Yes, that is absolutely the truth. Josh Hoover retired after the game from disgust with Spike Dykes' kid. You know,
if you fire him, who are you going to go and get?
Not if, you have to. You have to. You cannot let this go. You got humiliated by BYU. And not only did you get humiliated by BYU, you've now lost 3 of your last 5, and your season essentially came to an end. Because you have Houston and Cincinnati, and I think there's a chance they end the season with 4 straight. Because going to Houston is not proving to be any kind of pleasure cruise. Houston's 8-2. And I think that Houston, the West Virginia loss for Houston is inexplicable. But you bounce back, and Scott Frost almost had one of those wins. He didn't, and they're 1-6 in conference. Second only to 0-7 Oak State. Hey, thanks for not showing up, losers. Anyway, the point is, too much probably. Probably. But this is the week that Bear Bachmeier arrived in Provo. This was a statement game. This is one of those games where I truly believe that TCU James has absolutely destroyed multiple programs now. And I think
Blacklist got deeper, bro.
Again, and I think it's important to point out, it started with the bend in Preston Stone's cock. And
guess what? Today Monday, motherfucker.
Now we've moved to another Monday where TCU James has destroyed people's lives. I don't know how else you would even describe this TCU loss. I really,
James, any comment on your ability
James
to ruin
is
program
here today. That's right. We read his comments. Is he here today? I don't know if he's still here, but James was cheering for TCU. Dana was cheering for BYU. It was ugly. You know, funny how those religious schools teabagged their opponents, Notre Dame and BYU. Guess there was no honor code for teabagging. Don't be jealous.
Dude.
Hey, bro. Marcus is a petty little. Marcus Freeman.
Oh, okay. That Marcus.
He is, that Marcus. He is petty as hell. So if you say bad things about his children, they're going to come out and, those two ugly hoes in The Shining, the two girls with the ponytails and stuff?
Yeah, the ones that aren't real.
That's how they're going to treat you like that. And
Does
they did.
Manti Te'o know them, or
No, his dead girlfriend does, who was never alive. But the point is, you saw Notre Dame come out with a point to prove. BYU came out with a point to prove. And I think and how? Lopes fan Gabe, hello. Good to see you, sir. Record number of head coaches fired at the end of the season? Probably.
In the Big 12, I think the Big 12 is definitely going to have, gosh, I hope it's not more than 5, but at least like 3 to 4, at least.
I would think so. Yeah, TCU James was heartbroken. So a Sonny Dykes team didn't play defense. Where have I seen that show before? Also, go Bears. All too well. Yeah, there you go. Yes, Saturday really sucked. Yeah, the tough loss for TCU. You're a diehard TCU fan. Now that you're
Monty, my car, I'm gonna have to change the stickers on my shit box, Monty.
Not horny anymore, James. Dude, see, are you going to at least admit that when you talk about something, that thing immediately dies? Like hope and joy?
And I'll see you in Valhalla.
At any university. It just, boom, out of here. Right? Like just, and then you move off of them. You're filling in for somebody as a fan.
Boom. Out of here.
Thank you. Fuck.
We haven't played that one in so long, all right? It's in the ethos of like the drop land, all right?
Now we're ethosing this thing. You're such a scumbag. Anyway, the point is, James, are you at least going to admit that you are the great destroyer of people's happiness when it comes to college
for
football?
somebody.
Oh, Jude, let me tell you about Jude. I got to tell you about Haas Hengy. Liz Frank break. Yeah, I hated him anyway. Oh, Josh Hoover.
He has our full respect.
Bro.
I will admit, James, that you do live. Yeah, there you go. There you go. That's a picture of James from the parking lot after Haas Hengy broke his foot. Of Haas Hengy coming out. Oh, buddy. Haas, I'm so sorry, Dad. I'm so sorry, Haas. My bad, boy. I'm over here just pissing myself for you, Haas. That's how much I'm in pain, boy.
It really hit me.
I just hit myself in the tooth. I did think about you, James, when Ollie Gordon actually had positive yardage for Miami over the weekend. Who was it that said Notre Dame will run all over Pitt? Jake said that.
Oh, stop it. You did not say that, bro.
James, you don't get credit for anything that's good that happens in my sports fandom. Right? Like
How dare you?
Yeah, how dare you? Anyway, no, I'm not going to say it. Hey, that's me. That is you. Self-portrait. Josh Hoover and this TCU offense have been the big letdown from thoughts. Well, the anticipation is incredible. You are prettier than that, Monkey Man P2M. Yeah, I would not agree with that. He's really not. Cow Turd. Somebody told me today he got fired from Fox. Is Cowherd still on Fox? I didn't see
that. No.
I just haven't watched his show. I think I probably would have heard about that.
Yeah, that would have been breaking news, national everywhere.
Yeah. Eggy says, James, don't listen to Monty. You made me very happy as a BYU.
That's the bottom line.
Exactly right. Oh, keep up the Lord's work. Your sacrifice brings happiness to many opposing fans. That's right. That's exactly right. James, stop supporting people before it's too late. I feel bad. Anytime James makes a prediction, you can just go the other way.
That's the untrained eye.
Go the other way like James does. He goes both ways sometimes, but it's, came out wrong.
I'm not doing that.
James, how much is it going to cost me for you to be a fan of BYU next year? Exactly. We have to work that Venmo, James. BYU beat the tar out of TCU because they have the big uglies up front. They have the big uglies up front. Okay. TCU needs better O-line and D-line. Okay. James, I just, okay. It makes me want to shave my mustache. It really, every time I see that picture, it makes me.
Wait, was that James or James Franklin? It's hard to tell the difference, bro. See? And then there's that James, you know.
Or this James was better, but that turned out to be the wrong James. But, you know.
Ain't no reset.
It's fine. James, you do you. I would love to go and do a road trip to Northern California, Oregon, and Washington.
Nope.
No, this is James being like, oh, James wants Jake to be like, oh, James, you should come out. You can stay at my place. Oh, yeah, it'd be great. We'll go to a game together. Like, I'll show you the new basketball court at Oregon. Oh, it's going to be amazing.
Yeah,
oh,
the hardwood
my God.
is incredible, bro.
You got to get stroked.
Let's go to Autzen together, and then we can road trip to Corvallis and up to Husky Stadium. Me and you, baby. James and Jake there.
Pardon me.
Still the greatest moment on this show was Jake telling James, oh, okay, all right, bye, James, love you. While he was single, which was amazing.
Biologics.
You know, Two Shakes has the Diddy oil. Yes, he does.
Right. Yeah.
Pause, bro. Pause.
Yeah.
You know, Husker Magic, please mark this bold prediction.
Okay. All right. So it's November 17th, 3:22 Pacific. What kind of assery are we going to have in this comment?
Well, Michigan and USC depart the Big Ten due to them selling 10% of their equity without. That's actually, as I've told you, that deal's not going to happen. That equity deal is. You watch in the next 10 days, that deal will die. That deal will die because
Dan Wetzel, hold on, not to cut you off. Dan Wetzel literally 10 minutes ago tweeted, Big Ten's $2.4 billion private capital deal is paused for now as Michigan and SC maintain staunch opposition. Yeah, Monty, you don't know ball, bro. You don't know what you're talking about, all right? So just, you don't know anything.
I'm just telling you.
Okay.
I'm just telling you. It is paused. Pause, bro. Pause.
Yeah, dude.
Exactly.
I mean, it's yeah.
Big Pontiff. James, I have become death, the destroyer of programs. My dude is the harbinger of a program's apocalypse. First Oak State, now TCU.
Yay!
Yeah, that Big Ten, and I understand that people want to. This whole idea of independence, and I know people are probably tired of hearing me talk about Notre Dame, and everybody's like, oh, being an independent's so easy, Monty. No, it's not. And I think if you're USC and Michigan, you're not going to be independent. In what world, especially in today's college football world, where you're making $100 million in TV money, what world does that math to go independent? Because where are you going to replace that TV money? And if you're Michigan, when you have not won and you are one of the least respected athletic departments in the entirety of the country, what world does it make sense to go hat in hand to Ohio State and say, hey, will you play us every year? What world does that make sense in? Because you have no friends. You have no friends. You have no safe zone. You have nothing. What world does it make sense in?
It doesn't.
It makes zero sense, in my opinion. And I think a lot of people want to get excited, and a lot of people want to be, we're going independent. We're going to tell them how it is, Monty. No, you're not. Now, did you break this equity deal? You did.
Stay hard.
Can the Big Ten afford to lose brands like Michigan and SC? It cannot. But Michigan threatening to go independent in 2037? Ooh.
There's not even going to be conferences in 2037.
Look at everybody shaking in fear. Said absolutely no one. Nobody was worried about that. Nobody was worried about that. David Persons, but Monty, when do you think Sonny gets fired? I think when the season's over. You have no choice but to move on now. And I think you're moving in the wrong direction. And you're not going to have to tell Sonny Dykes that. He is well aware. Your offense looks really bad. Really, really bad.
I think both sides, honestly. BYU lit you up both ways, dude. It wasn't even close.
TCU James. Monty will never give Oak State's defense credit. K-State averages 31 points a game, and they only scored 14. Okay. James, I don't know how you manage to do it. I think you just enjoy throwing me softballs, and I appreciate that. I want you to know that it is very much appreciated that you would do such an amazing thing. What about, let's see, because I know that I do not give Oak State's defense enough credit. I know, frankly, as somebody that is, frankly, I'm a bad person, James, because I lie a lot, right? Like I tell you all the time that Oak State's defense is the worst in the Big 12. And I'm just mean-spirited, and I have the heart of a pissing monkey. Nobody argues with that, nor do they argue that Oak State's the worst defense in the Big 12. I give them credit for exactly what they have earned, my guy. Like the 428 yards a game you give up, the 42 touchdowns you've given up, the 6.5 yards per play that you give up, the I don't even know how to. I could go on. I won't, because you guys are terrible defensively. 400. Look at the top defenses in this league, and you figure it out. How do you explain that you're 160 yards worse than the best defense in the Big 12? And well, if you carry the two,
explain it.
If I carry the two
and
divide by 6, and then use only the predicate and the participle of a whole number, yeah, Oak State's still the worst defense in the Big 12.
Yeah, firing Mike Gundy didn't fix that, dude. Sorry.
Tell me I'm wrong, Jeremiah. Oak State's defense looked really good.
Dude, no.
Their offense was terrible, but their defense looked much better.
Bro.
They're the worst.
Dude.
They're the worst defense in the Big 12. Do you want me to pull a national number? Because it ain't going to get better, dude. You're the worst defense. You're the worst defense in the Big 12. And you're trying to argue. Like Jeremiah, their 0-7 record says that's a lie.
Dude, come on.
The lie detector test determined that was a lie.
Jimmy, just accept your role as a program killer, sir. James is thinking everything is fine when the whole house is on fire while he's in the house. Oh, this smoke will dissipate. It'll be fine, Monty.
What's the big deal?
James' other team, TCU, is only the 9th worst defense in the conference. So see, I know what I saw.
Oh,
Oak State had 3 or 4 sacks on K-State. Now their offense was terrible. They're the worst defense in the Big 12. James, like, honest to God, is it just like, do you and stuff? Help me, sir. You make it so easy. Do you understand that Oklahoma State has 18 sacks on the entire season? Texas Tech has 33.
Because it's garbage.
You're okay. James, man, that Oak State defense is really good.
And
I mean,
when he's down.
if they were in the AAC, they'd still be the worst okay. Yeah.
Where are we at in society today?
We're just going to skip word timeouts. James now has to run his comments through me. Exactly right. Is Oak State's defense ranked worse or better than West Virginia's defense? Well, I'm going to say, since they're the worst defense, Oak State's defense is the worst defense in the conference, I'm going to say West Virginia's defense is better. You're worse than Colorado's defense. Like, of all the weird things to die on, the hill of Oak State's defense being better or good in any way, shape, or form is amazing.
Yeah.
You know, Aggie, I will say, maybe, James, you should work for Oak State's PR department. You're the only one out there able to get a top podcast to talk about them. Well done. Exactly right. Exactly right. All right. A couple other things here real quick. So if you're just tuning in, James Franklin has been named the head coach of Virginia Tech. Let's come back, reset that topic, and then let's get into the college football playoff. What we saw, is Texas done? Jake says they're not. Jake thinks Texas is the best team in the country. He'll explain why next.
Injured in an accident? You may be entitled to a bigger settlement, up to 3.5 times bigger. Your initial consultation is 100% free, and we don't get paid unless we win your case. No matter the accident, we are here to help. The advocates will fight for you because you deserve clarity, you deserve justice, you deserve guidance, you deserve an advocate. Contact us today.
Indeed, you do, at theadvocates.com. The best injury attorneys in the business, 24/7, 365. And it's crazy. You know, we all ride around on these Lime scooters, as I did in the rain this weekend because I'm not very smart. And I was at REI. So you guys remember the bike saga I told you about?
Yeah.
That I ordered an e-bike and it turned out not to be an e-bike. Trek Bicycles made that incredibly well. They fixed it. They fully refunded the bike I bought. No questions asked. Sold me an e-bike, the one that I originally wanted, at a great deal. I got $1,000 off the MSRP of the e-bike. Mrs. Monty got herself an e-bike, like the whole thing. It was amazing. While we were there, a girl and her dad came in because a guy on a Lime scooter couldn't stop and ran up her backside and bent the back end of her Trek bicycle. So she had to get like the whole new sprocket and whatnot. And her insurance would not cover it because, you know, there's no video of it. It's not a car. Like, it is so frustrating to me that there's just irresponsibility. So I asked her, hey, what are you guys doing about it? She actually didn't know that she could get an injury attorney to sue the guy. And I said, you should call the advocates because it's not your fault that guy lost control of his Lime scooter. She actually got a picture of his driver's license. How about she was sitting in a light on her bicycle in downtown Seattle. And we have these in Seattle. We have these huge two-way bike lanes. Like it is great. It's a great commuter city. But there's so many bike lanes and scooter lanes here that there's actually red and green lights for the bike and scooter lanes. He just wasn't paying attention and like full on slammed into the back of this girl. And she like fell over. It broke the back. Like I said, pretty much destroyed the back end of her bike. She thought to get a picture of his driver's license. The cops are like, yeah, there's really nothing we can do. But she's like, yeah, I never thought about that. So you should think about that, because what covers you when you get into an accident? Well, it should be your insurance, but you and I both know your insurance is not going to fight to give you everything that you deserve. That's why you got to get the advocates at theadvocates.com. Hand them the claims process. Let them fight the fight that they've won so many times, but this time let them fight it on your behalf at theadvocates.com. Yeah, the bike lane stuff is crazy in Seattle. I don't know why people have to be. There's so much jackassery in this city when it comes to scooters and bicycles on sidewalks. Like, it's for the first time the other day, I saw somebody on the street getting a ticket for riding a scooter on the sidewalk, which I thought was amazing. Because you legit, yeah, I've never seen it before. You are not allowed to ride a bicycle or a scooter on a sidewalk yet. It happens all the time. Happens all the time. It is just crazy to me. The monkey says the advocates. Absolutely. I don't want a peep about Hoss. I want to see it, James. Stop teasing us with your Hengy talk. What is going on? What did he say? Johnny, if Hoss Hengy is healthy against UCF, they have a chance. Oh boy. We're really relying on Hoss Hengy. That's what we're relying on now.
That's right, T.
Okay. Hoss Hengy to the rescue. James Franklin named the new head coach at Virginia Tech. There is some reporting out because that's pretty much official now. James Franklin says, quote, "My vision is simple: to restore unmatched excellence, to build something that lasts, and to serve this university, the Commonwealth of Virginia, and our amazing fan base with honor, integrity, and passion." James Franklin talking Hokie football. Jake, your thoughts on that?
Well, one, I have to say, I'm not confident in this ChatGPT world we live in that James was the crafter of that statement. Number one, that's too well said. Number two, I think it's a good opportunity for him following the Penn State situation. I think that, Virginia Tech is a program that he can go in there, do his thing, see pretty quick results because it's the ACC and it's not as deep of a conference. And ultimately, I think if he takes Virginia Tech to, hell, even an ACC championship game, I mean, that's a height they haven't seen in how long. So, I mean, even that would be, a huge improvement for that program. But obviously, his aspiration is to go to the CFP. So, it remains to be seen. But again, I'm just going to keep saying it. He's a guy that always struggles to have a quarterback. So you'll know he's not playing around when he actually gets a legitimate quarterback to go and play for him.
I'm curious. Like, do you think Virginia Tech fans are excited about this? The comment section on the tweet's pretty interesting. Like, some are excited. But how long does he ever get them to the college football playoff?
Yes.
I think he does.
Yeah.
I think he does. But is he going to make people forget about Beamer ball? Probably not. Probably not. I mean, he's going to have to go and get a lot of talent. I think that's number one, because you look at where they are, and obviously in down times, I mean, that's a 3-7 football team this year. And they've got 2 games left with Miami and Virginia. But you look at who they are as a football team, like, they don't have a dynamic offense. They don't have, he's going to have to he's going to have to go and get dudes. He's going to have to go and get players. And I think it's going to be a steep hill to climb early. And I'm curious if they are you could probably contend for an ACC championship in 2 years.
Absolutely. Yep. And I think that the overreaching conversation that I feel like not a lot of people want to talk about is the swing of power between these conferences, depending on where these candidates go. I mean, we're just assuming that, James Franklin isn't going to be able to put everything together at Vatech and win a national championship. But
yeah.
I mean, I would completely agree that an ACC championship, a CFP berth is totally reasonable inside of 2 to 3 seasons at most. I think that the James Franklin to Vatech hire should have guys like Matt Rule or anybody who picked up a job and hasn't had a ton of success paying attention. I know that everyone wants to give Luke Fickell a free pass at Wisco because, allegedly their money wasn't super invested and now it is or whatever. But all I'm saying is if you're a head coach right now that's 3-4 seasons in and he starts having success 2 years in, that's going to be a real shot over people's bow. And I think it's going to make other administrations across college football understand the levels to the game.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to sit here and give James Franklin more flowers than he's owed. And I'm not going to just forget about the stuff at Vanderbilt or the stuff he was a part of at Penn State. I'm not just that didn't just suddenly disappear. But I think if you're a Virginia Tech fan, it doesn't really get much better than this for you in this hiring cycle. I just don't. I don't think that you could have done better.
A lot of people are on your ChatGPT thing.
Yeah,
a lot of people.
Yeah, it's too good to be true. He didn't write that, in my opinion, but that's just an opinion.
We'll see. A lot of people. I think it's a home run hire for Vatech. I think it's a no-brainer. You can say a lot of things, and a lot of the bad deeds by his players under his watch at multiple locations. But James Franklin's a good hire. Yeah. This is a good day for Vatech football. And he will bring in talent. He will build a defense. I want to see James Franklin go out and find a dynamic quarterback who can actually throw him to wins. Because there was no easier route than he got in the college football playoff last year. An average-ass Aller crippled his ability to win those games. I am no fan of James Franklin, but this is without question a good hire for Virginia Tech. I just think I think he will do good things for them. But we'll see. Only Beamer had a worse record against top 25. Good hire. Well, there is that. James can help Vatech get to new heights. TCU James can ruin that by rooting for the Hokies. Exactly right.
But I also think
right.
The top 25 record thing, I think is an interesting point from Virginia Tech's perspective. So
yes,
this is sort of the LeBron comparison in a sense, where everyone goes, okay, well, LeBron hasn't won enough, right? He hasn't won enough championships. He's been there a million times, can't seem to put it together, right? And I agree with that. But the difference is in the NBA, LeBron's got more control versus at college football, there's a lot of things that go into that. And I think if you're Virginia Tech, a program that has not been relevant in the CFP era, you'd be more than happy to hire a coach who's whatever he is now, 5-20, whatever it is, to coach your team and, win, and get to those bigger games and then not be able to pull it out. I just think that's a better position to be in than being a 3 or 2 win team every year, not making any money and not having any relevancy. I just think that's, enter Sandman can only go so far, bro. At some point you got to win.
Interesting email lands in the inbox. Casino del Sol and the University of Arizona announce a 20-year stadium naming rights partnership. Financial terms undisclosed. That's huge for Arizona. See, you're starting to see people understand business has to be done. And I think in the Big 12, I think business is being done. like LeBron or hate him, he won a champ at Cleveland. He did. Yeah. Vodtech 2026 AC champions. Yeah, ACC. I don't know that it'll go that far, but we'll see. Okay, somebody yelling, stop saying Vodtech. Well, I'm going to say Vodtech because it's my fucking show. So
Gonzaga.
Good luck. James, Hal Mummy is still coaching offense. He is probably available for Oak State. I've heard that. And he meets their old man criteria. I think it's a good hire for Vodtech. I think it's a very good hire for Vodtech. Criteria. It is a good hire for Vodtech. There's no doubt. You're starting to see that missing $240 million make its way back to University of Arizona.
I didn't want to make that joke about decimal points and, all of that. But,
Phenomenal Hebrew. Have no fear, Virginia Tech. Pay raise Franklin is here. There you go. There you go.
Yeah, but Hebrew, bro, who are you going to hire, man? You going to go after, first team all khaki Brian Kelly?
It's a big question.
I mean,
it's a big question.
I just don't know who you're going to go and get, dude. I mean, honestly, like you're going to have to overpay to get someone. And honestly, this James Franklin to Vodtech, it does shake up the ACC a little bit, in my opinion. I mean, if the ACC, because the ACC is going to struggle to fill out their coaching positions too. Like Norvell, when he gets whacked, who are they going to go and get? Obviously Miami's underwhelming again, which is not surprising to me at all. But like you look around the ACC and there's some work to do there. So, I just think if the ACC can become Florida State, Vodtech, Miami, and if SMU decides to show up once every 5 years, you're in a pretty good place as a conference at that point.
Yeah, I think Virginia Tech's in a great place. And if you can bring them back to a competitive spot and we get Vodtech football again, they need to be contending at the top of that league. And I would remind you, the names we heard early in this search included Mike Vick. This is a superior hire to that. This is good work by Virginia Tech football. This is good work by a university that I think needed a good hire. And I don't think there's any doubt that it is James Franklin's a good hire. So we're going after big fish, Kalen DeBoer, because his family realized Alabama is bullshit. Okay. Big game hunting. Who are you? The Utah Jazz?
Family.
So wait, so you're saying you're going to go and get Kalen DeBoer? Okay, bro.
I think it's a huge question. Where does Penn State go from here? And the answer is I don't know.
It's going to have to be an OC.
I don't know.
I think it's an OC. I think, that you're going to have to dip into that level of coach. I just don't think there's enough head coaches out there that, are either interested or available.
I'd do everything I could do to get Will Stein to take that job. I mean, I think you have to go young, proven offensive coordinator. And that's Garrett Riley or Will Stein. Those are the two guys. And I just don't know. I don't know how to, other than trying to poach a big name coach, which I think is going to be very difficult right now. I don't know how you beat James Franklin. And I'm not saying they shouldn't have fired him. I just hope that you weren't counting on Matt Rule. That's my biggest concern.
Well, it kind of feels that way.
We'll see. I don't know. Hopefully Franklin learned that picking the wrong QB gets you fired. Hopefully he did, right? I think it is. It's going to be very interesting. Very interesting. What about Google Me?
Google me.
The SIG just signed an extension at Indiana. He's not going anywhere.
Win. Google me.
Yeah. I hope that people understand when these guys sign these extensions, it's so difficult to get them out of those deals. There's just so much money that they have to give up to get out of those deals. You're never going to do that. And then And again, I think a guy like Cignetti, he's so far up the totem pole at Indiana now. Like, that is his world. He is the king of that campus. It's
should be
all
his
on
last
him.
stop. Let's be real. That should be
It
his
should
last
be at
stop.
his age. You would think that it would be his last stop, but he's got it good there. He's got a long-term deal. He's got lifetime money. Like, there is no reason in my mind that you would ever consider, if you're Kirk Cignetti, there's no reason that you would ever consider leaving Indiana. You're going to compete every year. The conference schedule super easy. The bar is super middle of the road at Indiana. I just don't know why. Why would you leave there? Why would you take a job at Penn State where there's so much unknown? And I think it's really difficult to win at Penn State.
That's what I'm saying. I think that the hard part is, and again, I really, like, if you're newer to the show, like, it's not even that I hate Penn State. Like,
I hate Penn State. I do. That's me.
Yeah, but just talking about it as a job for a head coach, like, obviously there's resources, but it doesn't, like, it's true. It doesn't feel like some massive upgrade on its face to go from, Oregon to Penn State. It doesn't feel like it's an upgrade to go from Indiana to Penn State, given the level of success that Cignetti has been able to create there. It's almost like, I mean, hell, why don't you call Spencer Danielson, right? Why don't you call one of the top group of 5 coaches who's having a ton of success at that level and go that route? I mean, at least then you can clear cut say you're an upgrade, and then that way you don't have to pay him as much. At least I could respect that. Honestly,
I'd agree with that.
I would respect the hell out of that. Hey, we're not going to pay you as much because you don't have power level experience, but you've shown the ability to win at the group of 5 level. Like, let's see what you can do here. And as a program that is struggling to court the best head coaching talent in the country, we would rather get a head coach than a coordinator. We would rather get, a guy that's taken his team to the CFP once versus somebody who is an OC on and has never been a head coach. Like, I think that's the hard part. This is where we test what kind of leadership you have.
I just think Penn State's not a big job anymore. Penn State is an attractive job. Is it bigger than? Again, I ask. Arkansas and Penn State is in this universe right now. Arkansas and Penn State's a really difficult choice for coaches. I think that's the hard part. That's the hard part. Didn't Rhett Lashley just sign an extension?
Yes.
If
they overpaid him.
Yeah,
no,
I want to say he just signed an extension. So I'm going to say no, because Jerry was after him hard for Arkansas. So I'm going to say he's out. Right? Yeah, October 31st, he signed an extension. Try to keep up, dude. James. Who is FSU going to go get that's better than their current head coach? I think he stays. I totally disagree.
Dude, he doesn't have credibility, bro. What has he done? Like, what has he actually done?
I think Florida State is a huge job. A huge job. And again, if this story about Lincoln signing an extension at USC, or them having passing conversations about getting something done with Lincoln Riley, which I think they would be foolish not to at this point, he's another great fit for Florida State. Lincoln Riley's a perfect fit at Florida State. And again, I say, when you fire Norvell,
agreed.
And let's say you hire Lincoln Riley, now USC becomes the best available job. I don't even think it's close. I think it's a better job than LSU, and it's a better job than Florida. You have far more assets, far more money. I mean, you look at the money that they're putting in NIL at USC now. Bro, the Coliseum's a great facility now that it's been retrofit. Their locker room, their training facilities are all sponsored. So there's money on their facilities. Like, I think it's going to be very difficult. And you're in Southern California, Los Angeles, in the hotbed of the social circle. You have a you have what? I don't know, 8, 9, 10 premier football programs within an hour drive of your front door at USC. Mater Day's a pipeline. Like, look at all the Heisman quarterbacks that have come out of Mater Dei in Southern California. Look at all the starting quarterbacks. Like, USC's a phenomenal job. So if I said to you, you can be the head coach, you can be the head coach at Penn State, you can be the head coach at LSU, I'm taking LSU. Okay, you can be the head coach at USC or LSU. Dude, I think that is a really difficult choice. If you're Lane Kiffin, you're taking LSU. You've been at USC and you're never going to give them the time of day. But if you look, and here I go straight back to how many great candidates are on the market right now? How many great football coaches are available right now? I don't think there's a dearth of them.
No.
I don't think there's a lot. I really don't.
But Florida State shouldn't be looking at Lincoln, dude. I just, yes and no. I don't know that Lincoln leaves USC for Florida State. Like, I understand it's a good job. I don't deny that. But he's already got everything. Like, the only reason you would do that is if you wanted to live in Florida and you just wanted to leave USC. That's why you would do that. Like, I
don't think that's necessarily the case. I think Lincoln Riley. Lincoln's not a normal dude. Lincoln is incredibly competitive. He lives and dies on winning football games. He is not normal. And he is somebody that he's the antithesis of a guy like Brian Kelly. Lincoln's not only going to call you, he's going to send you, like, one of the things that Lincoln Riley's gotten really proficient at, video messaging kids on social media, doing video calls on Instagram. Lincoln Riley is in the game. It is his life, man. Now, do I think he's actively looking to leave USC? No, I don't. And I do think USC will extend him or try to. But he's going to get phone calls. Lincoln Riley, and again, I understand people think that he can't coach defense. His defense is not the worst defense in the Big Ten. It's not close to the worst defense in the Big Ten. It's improving. And he's got the #1 recruiting class the next 2 years, and he's always very good in the portal. Lincoln Riley is going to be in demand. He is going to be in demand. And I know that USC boosters fucking hate when I say nice things about Lincoln Riley because I always hear about it. You could do a lot worse than Lincoln Riley. And if you're USC and Lincoln Riley's not your head football coach, who's it going to be? Who's it going to be? It's going to be Garrett, or it's going to be Will Stein, or because, again, I'm telling you, if Lincoln Riley leaves that job, your first phone call, I don't care who you are. Like I said, get your Forrest Gump on and run on up to Eugene and pack Will Stein's apartment for him, because you're hiring that guy. Because I don't think there's a great candidate out there. I truly do not. Like, if you are Florida State and you fire Mike Norvell, you can do better than Mike Norvell. You can do better than Mike Norvell. Florida State could call Lane Kiffin. He ain't going to take that job. But that program is on a level where they can compete for any head coach in the country. And honestly, I think we are seeing more than at any time in the history of college football. Coaches will take a job in their own backyard. Coach it with, like, you're going to watch Lane Kiffin take Florida or LSU when he works at Ole Miss. Do you know how much hate there is going to be lobbed at him when he takes the Florida job? Because I can't believe he doesn't take that job.
Mm-hmm.
I just fight on natties. You think Mrs. Lincoln is going to leave that house in Pacific Palisades? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Yes, absolutely, I do.
Yeah.
That is Lincoln Riley. And if the Oklahoma job didn't teach you this, Lincoln Riley is the king of his castle and his life. And this is the problem with Jed Fish at Washington. Because when Jed Fish leaves that job, who are you going to hire to replace him? Because I don't think Washington's one of the great jobs in the country. And it's going to be really hard to go and beat Ohio State if you're at Washington. With all due respect, I think it's going to be very difficult. Lincoln Riley, in my opinion, Lincoln Riley is all about that life. His wife is about that life. There is no question about that. No question about that. He's from a family of coaches. If he wanted to leave USC, he could leave. I think USC will extend him. I think they have no choice. They have no choice, in my opinion. FSU is best option for Riley. The second best option is staying at USC because I think it's a much easier path. Frankly, if FSU doesn't win the ACC championship every year, it's their own fault. And Miami is changing that now, but you still have that head coach at Miami who can't win big games. Okay. You got, how many times have I said it? You got Cristobal.
Yeah, listen, I think we need to be reminded of schedule difficulty in the Big Ten, though, right? Like, so you played Missouri State, Georgia Southern, Purdue, Michigan State, Illinois, Michigan, Notre Dame, Nebraska, Northwestern, and Iowa so far.
Right, but look at the mileage. Lincoln Riley on the coaches show this week. Do you know what he spent 15 minutes talking about? How they've changed the process of travel at USC. 15 minutes talking about how he's had to change the process and the manner by which they travel. Because their travel is not getting easier. It's getting harder and more difficult. You read that schedule and you start looking at how much USC football travels. Dude, it is, and I know you're going to say this is an excuse, and nobody travels the way that USC travels. Look at 2026. Here's their schedule. Fresno State, at Indiana. So LA all the way to Bloomington. Immediately at Penn State. So you're probably not coming home. You're probably going from Bloomington to somewhere out in Penn State land. Did I mention the week after that, it's Rutgers, New Jersey. Then you're at UCLA, home for Maryland, home for Ohio State, home for the Ducks, Washington, at Wisconsin, at Notre Dame. How? How are you going to go? How are you going to go to the college football playoff on that schedule? You're right. You're not, because it's unbelievable. And then you look at 2027 on their away games are Iowa, Maryland, Ohio State, and Washington. That's their preliminary away games. You got to go to Iowa, Maryland, and Ohio State and Washington. Like the travel is just ball breaking. I don't know how you fix that. The answer is you don't fix that. I mean, do you guys see, do you disagree with that, Jake?
I mean, yeah, it's arduous. You can't deny that it's a lot of distance, but part of me does feel like, hey, we sit here and talk about Big Ten money and resources and it's USC.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sit here and cry a river, dude. It's part of your job, man.
Okay. Well, here's Florida State's 2026 schedule. At Alabama, Central Arkansas at home, Florida at home, at Boston College, Clemson, at North Carolina State, SMU, Virginia, at Louisville, at Miami, at Pitt. You guys understand they leave the Eastern time zone one time, and it's to go to Louisville.
Mm-hmm.
That's a far easier schedule. Those are all overnights, home 6 days a week.
So then so if we're sitting here having this conversation, how is USC a top job?
I think it's a top job because it's USC football. But you're going to have to figure out this travel thing. It is the mileage alone is just, it's brutal. I mean, and you're not even, and the thing is, you're playing Rutgers. Is Rutgers a good football team? No. Rutgers is not a good football team. Problem is, it's in Piscataway. It's in New Jersey. Like, it's the other side of the moon. And that's after you play Indiana and after you play Penn State. And so you might lose to Rutgers, and understandably so. What is that? 5,200 miles, I think? I could be wrong. That's almost 16,000 miles in a month. That's wild to me. But that's the price you agreed to pay to join the Big Ten. So
I also think it's for Lincoln. It's I mean, obviously you were aware of this, when you took the job, so it's like, I don't disagree. It is arduous. It is a pain in the ass. It is difficult. No question about it. And I would even go as far as to say it's a disadvantage. I agree. But I guess I just have a hard time being like, yeah, like, man, it's really, like, I have a hard time feeling sorry for any of those schools out there because,
I don't think
you
it's
did sign up.
It's not a feel sorry. It's not a feel sorry thing. It is a reality thing. So when you say, hey, why would Lincoln leave? I think that 15 minutes talking about quality of hotel, talking about quality of the money, the money that USC is putting into food is the catering services on their own. Do you guys understand that they send a crew of, I think it's 7 people, go ahead of them by 4 days to make sure that all the hotels are perfect, all the locker rooms are perfect. Like they're spending just gobs of money on it, and they have no choice. And this is, to your point, you made this bed, now you're going to lie in it. But nobody's asking for anybody to feel sorry for them. This is why Lincoln Riley would be looking at Florida or LSU or Florida State. And this is exactly why USC needs to lock him down to an extension.
So which do you think is the better job? Just on its face, with this whole travel thing and where they're located. And I mean,
better job like Florida State or USC?
Yeah.
I think it's Florida State. I think that you have clear, as long as Dabo's at Clemson, right? Because James Franklin doesn't represent a threat. Anybody with a set of testicles that takes over the job at Clemson is a threat. Because Clemson, they have legacy, they have recruits, they have the whole thing. If it were today, Florida State's a better job. I think you have a much easier route to the college football playoff. I think you have incredible assets. You have a really passionate fan base, and you have the ability to recruit skill position players on both sides of the football. And you don't ever leave your time zone. You sleep in your bed 6 nights a week, essentially 6 nights a week, which is really important. Really, really important, in my opinion. Yeah, that's exactly right. Another buddy of mine texting me, and you don't have to worry about playing Notre Dame every year. Like to me, I just think there's a lot working against USC right now, but that's why I said he's winning games.
Well,
they've got the number one offense in the Big Ten.
I don't know. Maybe I just don't get it. Maybe I just don't understand. Maybe it's over my head, dude. But like, I don't understand. Like, what do you mean? And you don't have to play Notre Dame. Notre Dame is a quality win baked into your schedule every single year if you can go win the game. Like, you want that on your schedule. That's right. Part of it.
You want that on your schedule in August or September. You don't want that on your schedule in October and November.
Yeah,
because that's the worst time to lose. So I think there's a lot of moving parts at USC right now. I think there's a lot of moving parts.
There is.
And at Florida State, it's very simple. Kick ass, take names, let's go to the championship. It's as simple as that, right? Like, this is what I say about Kalani Sitake at BYU. Kalani's is why do I love, like, literally I love Kalani Sitake. I have so much respect and admiration for him. And why is that? Because I don't hear that guy complain about anything. He don't complain about his quarterback being at Tulane. He just goes and puts Bear Bachmeier in, who had the best performance of his entire career against TCU. He doesn't complain about firing his best friend. He goes and hires Jay Hill.
Man, and that was controversial as hell when that time was
doesn't complain about recruiting against the honor code. He recruits on the honor code, and you've got dude after dude after dude on that football team. And you know what somebody asked me? I did a radio interview this morning, and somebody asked me a very good question. Would BYU be the best team in the ACC right now? Oh, yeah, I think they would. Yeah. Yes. The answer is yes. The answer is yes. I think BYU would be the number one team in the ACC right now. Never had occurred to me. Never had I ever thought about it.
Oh, the question to me is, if we're going down that rabbit hole, if we really want to get to it, is where would Tech stack up in the SEC? Because BYU's lost to them. I think the only way to measure that is to go and say, okay, well, how do we measure that win for Tech? Is Tech, because I don't agree with Tech being tied with Oregon in the AP. I think that's some pretty heavy shade at Oregon. But
I watched Oregon this weekend. I have a lot of concerns about their defense, man. I have a lot of concerns.
All about the matchup, bro. It's all
I have
about the matchup.
A lot of concerns about their defense, dude. This game this weekend is not a great matchup for Oregon. I mean, you look at, and it's Minnesota, and they beat the piss out of Minnesota. It was not. Minnesota's almost so crappy. You don't care that Dante had, what did he have? 302 scores or 3 scores or something stupid like that. You know what worries me a little bit is that Drake Lindsey was 19 of 32 and threw a touchdown. That worries me a little bit. It worries me a little bit that you sacked him for 28 yards and they still ran for 62 net. That worries me a little bit. It worries me that you had 3 Minnesota receivers average 10 yards a catch on multiple receptions. That worries me a little bit. And it was great. Listen, I honestly, I had myself a Diddy party watching Kenyon Sadiq go 8 for 96 and a touchdown. That kid is
stud.
I mean, oil it up, dude. He is unbelievable. It's probably too far now. But my point is, stay hard. My point is that stay hard. He's unbelievable. I hate Oregon's defense. I hate it. Every inch of it.
That's what I'm saying, dude. Everyone's just, I'm telling you, casuals are going to be like, oh, Oregon's going to beat up on Lincoln's defense. And I'm telling you, that's a two-way street.
That might be true.
That's a two-way street, friend.
The over-under on this game should be 764.
What is it right now? I mean, I haven't even.
Yeah, I think it's
10.5.
Right here.
10.5, and then
10.5, 60.5. And I think that 60.5 is not enough. This is going to be 42-36, 42-38. It's going to be a 70-point game. And I am convinced, because I think this is one of the few college football games I'd love to be at, because I think it's going to be an absolute shootout. Because I love Dante Moore, speaking of Diddy parties. But I love Dante Moore. And I love what Lincoln's got Jade Mayava doing, and King Miller, and the whole anyway, Jimbo Fisher to FSU, done deal. Yeah, I don't think so. Fight on Natties. BYU would kick ass and take names in the SEC conference. Can't stop the run. Well, yeah, I don't think so. I would disagree with that. Minnesota is rowing the boat with that short oar right now, bro. They're not good. You got to make a change there, in my opinion. But Monty, you don't have to worry about those teams. James isn't a fan of theirs. That's right. That's right. Andrew Luck is going to look for an offensive and QB type of head coach. Stanford's a great job, too. They have got stacks of money at Stanford. That's a good point, Mike. Let's see. Chewy, USC will upset Oregon and ruin Big 12 multi-bid into the college football playoff. That would be
my
amazing.
only question for SC in this game, obviously it's Monday, it's not Friday, but my only question truly is, will you be prepared for the environment? Obviously, you should be. Hey, I'm not saying I expect them to be unprepared. I'm certainly not saying that. But this, just having been there once for a mediocre ass Oklahoma State team, that's a loud ass environment, dude. If you are not ready to go for that, like if you are not so locked in that it just doesn't bother you, that it's not even a thing, that could be a potential problem. And I'm curious, in an offense that likes to pass a lot, what that'll look like for them.
I don't know. It is that's a good question.
Because if you said Maava and company put up 35-40 on Oregon's defense, I wouldn't be surprised at all. With his ability to pass, wouldn't be surprised at all.
They can put up 35. They can put up 35. And I think the biggest question is, can USC keep Oregon under 40? Because I just think USC is so vulnerable in the middle of the field.
Yeah.
And I just don't know. They've gotten much better linebacker down. They're better everywhere on defense. But that 12-yard, 20-yard window, I just don't like. If you put Caleb Downs on USC's defense, they'd win the national championship. But he's not, so they won't. Right? I mean,
yeah.
You quite literally statistically have the best offense in the conference. And your defense is middle of the table, which is better. It's better. There's no doubt. Notre Dame, Nebraska, great environments, loud, Jake. We run the ball 10% more than we pass. Well,
yeah,
Autzon's in a different zip code. There's nothing I love more than Notre Dame. And I love Notre Dame Stadium, and it is not nearly as loud as Autzon. Autzon's built to make noise. And I don't know what it is. I say this about Husky Stadium a lot too, because the noise bounces off the ceiling at Husky Stadium. They have these, how Husky Stadium has these two, but they have this pitched roof. And so the noise hits the roof and careens down. But Autzon's just an environment of noise. And their fans are disgusting. Like, they don't care. They say the most heinous, terrible, awful things, and they say it at a really loud volume. So it's very different. Who has the better defense, Oregon or USC? Oregon by a titty hair. A little bit. Because I think
it depends who they're playing. I think some weeks they're a great defense, but then other weeks, like, the thing that terrifies me playing USC's offense is they have a quarterback that can throw. They have a quarterback who can place the ball, who can outthrow your coverage. Like, that's a problem.
Yeah, you have 45 passes defended at Oregon. That's a lot of passes defended. And it's because you don't get after the quarterback. And it just, I just continue to sit here and say, this is a rebuilding year for Dan Lanning in Oregon. And I think that next year, this defense will be significantly better, but next year's next year, and this is this year. Mm-hmm. And I do not see, in my humble opinion, I do not see this Oregon defense holding USC under 30. The question is, can Oregon's defense hold, or can USC's defense hold Oregon under 1 million? And that's what I don't know. That's what I don't know. I'm not convinced of it. But again, you don't rush the passer at Oregon, and that terrifies me. When you've got dudes like King Miller and Jade Mailata in the backfield, and I don't mean to keep going back to the number, but I say you have 46 passes defended because the second worst is Michigan at 37. 37. Like it's not close. And you look at the pure lack of pass rush. You've only got 18 sacks. Now, are you UCLA, who I think has like 5 sacks in the entire season? No, but if I look at USC, they've got 24 sacks. You've got 18 sacks on the entire season, right? Like that's not great, right? Now, you do tend to do things like intercept the football. You've got 9 interceptions, but USC's got 11. So I don't know. I'm not convinced Oregon's not the team that should get in a shootout and expect their defense to carry them. And the other thing that USC does that I love is they punch the football well. USC gets after your ass. They tackle the football. They punch the football. I want to say they lead the Big Ten, and I just closed the stats, but I think they lead the Big Ten in forced fumbles, and they're in double digits, like 10 or 12. Like USC gets after it, man. So, Monty, I am humble and always accurate opinion. You know, we'll see. Husky Stadium is louder than Oregon. I don't know. I've been to Notre Dame, Nebraska, Oregon, and Ohio State. Well, the shoe is just so damn big. Like it feels like and I don't know what you think. I've been to the Horseshoe a bunch, and I just feel like it feels like the Coliseum, the Roman Coliseum. You just feel like you feel that stadium like entering your butthole. Like you just feel the whole thing. Probably too much, but Husky Stadium's louder than Oregon. Could be. I don't know. That's a huge game.
Yeah.
That is a huge game. Former UCLA linebacker Swerve Slinger playing good for Cleveland. Loved him coming out of the draft. He's a good player. What do you guys make of the Shador thing? Real quick, because then I want to talk about Texas as well, but let's come back to Shador. I want to talk about that.
Yeah.
Can Texas still make the college football playoff? I think it's over. And I think it's over because I feel like your offensive line got exposed against Georgia again. And I know that I have said this a lot. Arch is not the problem at Texas. Can we all finally coalesce around an idea that Arch Manning doesn't suck? Arch Manning doesn't have the wide receivers, and he does not have the offensive line. He just does not. And I was sitting there watching that game, and I ask you this one question. If I put Arch Manning at Ohio State and I put Julian Sayin at Texas, are the results different?
No,
they're not. I think Ohio State would be where they are, and I think Texas would be where they are. Because I think they're pretty dead even quarterbacks, and I think Texas is not that. Texas ain't it. I think Texas doesn't have the talent to compete this year.
Yeah,
and I don't think I've ever said
do a better job that way, dude. Like, and Sark spoils us most years with the talent they have. I think we would all agree that, nine seasons out of 10, Sark's got a baller O-line, really good running back room, and really good skill talent overall. But I think that, the problem is that Arch is this guy where, there was so much hype, right? And Arch has never been the guy that's like, oh, yeah, like, I'm that guy. Like, I'm the best. Like, he's always said, hey, I got to go out on the field and prove it. So I don't personally have any issues with Arch. Like, I don't think that the kid is arrogant or like way over the top with it. Like, I genuinely think he's putting forth his best effort and doing everything that he can do to get better as a football player. And I respect that about him. I think the issue is, though, because of the position that he plays, the reality is there's a lot that's got to go right. And I do think there are times when Arch could help himself a bit just with some of the decisions he makes, where he puts the ball. You know, I just think that there are some throws where it's like, dude, like, how do you miss that throw? But then there's other throws. I think it was in the second quarter, might have been coming out of the half. That throw over to the left side of the field between like three guys, receiver catches it with his fingertips. Like, it's a great throw. So it's like the
bro. Christian Bale is close to joining Heat 2 to star alongside Leonardo DiCaprio. Oh my God. Bro. Did you hear what I just said? I just got a breaking news update from Variety. Christian Bale is yes. Yes.
Stay hard. Stay hard.
Dude, I am so stoked. When Leonardo DiCaprio in Heat 2, I was excited. Christian Bale is joining the cast of Heat 2. Anyway,
awesome,
I think Arch Manning's a stud. I am disappointed, and I haven't said this much on this show. I am disappointed in Steve Sarkisian because I think Steve Sarkisian has failed Arch Manning. I think that strongly of just how little talent there is at wide receiver at Texas. I am really surprised. I am really, really surprised at how little talent the number 17 ranked Texas Longhorns have at wide receiver. Really surprised. And when I look at Ryan Wingo, I don't know how you drop those two passes. I don't know.
Hey, bro, your only job is to catch the damn ball, and you can't even do that, bro. Like, come on.
I don't know, and I look at those throws, and I've looked at them so many times, and I am just shocked that Wingo, who is wide open for a first down, running across the formation at the 10-yard at Georgia's 10-yard line.
Yeah.
And Arch puts it on him, like right in the breadbasket, and he straight up dropped it. Straight up, and there's just no way. There is no way to explain that he drops that ball. Like, and then the ball that was over the top when they're 14-3, drop. You hit the tight end in the middle of the field, dropped. Like, I am just, it is shocking to me that they just can't catch the football. And I want to understand it. Are you just not made for this life? Is that too harsh? I don't know, but when you have a tight end wide open at the 50-yard line on a 2nd and 10 that would have made it 3rd and 1, instead you punt. I just can't fathom it.
Yeah, it's just unacceptable, and that's why I say, like, you know, I look around the SEC, and there was a bunch of that this week. You know, Alabama, you should be embarrassed, dude. Absolutely embarrassed. It's an embarrassing performance. It's totally unacceptable, and you know, maybe this is too harsh, but it's the first game with Kalen DeBoer where I was like, "Yep, you guys were unprepared to play." Honestly, the Florida State game I wrote off because you bounced back so well. Okay, cool. I'll let that go. This game right here, this time of year, completely unacceptable. Totally unacceptable to look that unprepared. And so whether it's preparedness level or whether it's just flat out drops, what happened, Wingo? It just hit you in the hands and you couldn't figure it out? Like, that's just not good enough, dude. And so to me, again, and I keep saying this because I'm a firm believer of this time of year, casual ass take is going to say it's Arch and that he sucks and he's terrible and, oh, well, Arch is terrible.
Yeah.
That's why that's not it, dude. I agree that Arch has some things to be accountable for, but he's not the reason you lost with 10 points on the board. You know, the 3 touchdowns that he threw for that were dropped. That's probably why you only put up 10 points. And so it's just
11 throws by Arch Manning. 11 throws on frame that were not completed passes. And then you have you guys will probably remember was probably the play of the game where he hits Mosley on that crosser out of the end zone. and fucking Mosley makes a play and turns it upfield for a 47-yard gain. I don't know. Jake, do you think Texas makes the college football playoff? Do they deserve to be in?
They don't deserve to be in, and they won't be in. I think a 3-loss Texas team is just with all the narratives and everything that's gone on. I think that Texas is the team where you're like, yeah, one too many losses, dude. And as far as that Bama game, I mean, I don't even know. I don't even know what to say, dude. I couldn't be more disappointed. I couldn't be more surprised at the lack of ball security, the amount of mistakes you made. You know, the box score says, hey, you know, you dominated them on the offensive side of the ball, crushed it. But the box score also says he gave the game away on a silver platter by turning it over 3-4 times in just incompetent fashion. Just yep, here you go. Here's the ball. Don't worry about it. We didn't need the ball anyway. So you guys, here you go, John. Like, just go ahead and sling it down the field. No problem at all. We're all good. You know, and that's what frustrates me is that I look at the rankings and I say, dude, like, the Big Ten is lucky. The Big Ten is fortunate that Texas lost and Bama lost, because this could have very easily been, hey, well, Georgia lost that game. They're still in, right? Oh, well, Oklahoma lost that game. Yeah, but it was Bama, so maybe we can tell a narrative about that. But you didn't get that. And I think the Big Ten is incredibly fortunate that Bama looked as bad as they did and are now a 2-loss team having to win out to stay in. And Texas is just out, in my opinion. There's no way, no how it's over. You're done. We'll see you next year.
Yeah, and I think this is the hard part for me is when I start looking at things like the FPI. I don't know how to reconcile the argument for Texas, because I think the All-State predictor thing has them at 44.6%. And what is impressive? If I said to you, let's even pretend that Texas beats Texas A&M. How am I supposed to justify Texas's resume as a team that has lost a lot of important games? You're 7-3, and I don't know, when I look at Vanderbilt's got a better strength of record, right? I think that if I look at Oklahoma's in, there's nothing to even talk about. I think Oklahoma's in. And if I look at strength of schedule, I think Texas is 6th in the SEC in strength of schedule. And I think there is no question Alabama's in over Texas. I don't even have an argument about that.
Right.
And it just makes it very difficult for me to make the argument for Texas, because they looked like ass against Georgia. They did not look good at all. And I want them to be good. I would love if they were good, but they're not good. And I don't think, if we sit here and we try to make the case, what is the case that Texas is supposed to be in? Because when I look at Texas, their FPI is behind teams like Miami, SC, Texas A&M, Texas Tech, Utah, Bama, Notre Dame. Like, they're behind a lot of teams. The hill is hugely difficult to climb. You need Notre Dame to lose. You need Miami to lose. You need USC to lose at Oregon. You need USC to lose that game. If SC wins that game, you are, in my opinion, in a really bad place if you are if you are Texas. If USC wins that game, you are in bad shape, in my opinion. Bad shape.
Yep,
So
because that's a signature win that launches SC into the playoff. If you beat Oregon at their place, and I think that, if you just look at the standings of the team, the records of the team in the CFP right now, everybody who's a 10-win team is feeling comfortable, right? Like, even if you look at Tech at 10-1, 10-2 Tech gets into the CFP, especially if that second loss is the championship game. So, like, Tech is sitting fine, and they're the only one inside of the top 8, I would say, that really would have any concern. I mean, OU beating Alabama, they control their own destiny. You went out, you're in, right? You lose another game, you're out. Like, it's a very simple, straightforward proposition. Doesn't matter how you win the game, 1 point, 100 points. You want to Pat Narduzzi that thing, great, but all you got to do is win the game. All right, that's it. So, to me, I just sit here and I say, like, teams like Vanderbilt sitting at 12, Vanderbilt ain't going to be there. They're not getting in. Utah needs a lot of help. Miami doesn't have the schedule. So that's what I'm saying. Like, SC has everything in front of them. But Texas, to me, even with A&M on the schedule, I'm just not confident that you have that much of a get back, considering what everyone else still has to play for.
And I would remind you, the FPI, which I think is the industry standard in predictors, has them at 20% to make the college football playoff, which feels about right, frankly.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what I'm saying. So you would need, like, bro, if Texas wants to get in, it goes without saying they got to win out. But then you're going to need, you're going to need A&M to lose to you and lose another one, right? At least, at a minimum. That's the minimum. And then you would need Oklahoma to lose again. You would need, you need help. Like, that's the reality. You need help at this point. And that's why I say, this time of year, if I've got to justify why you should be in, if I got to say, hey, man, they did this incredible thing, they should be in, you probably don't deserve it, right? If we got to roll out some sales presentation about why you should be in, you probably shouldn't be in. And that's why I say SC being at 16, to me, if you look at the teams around them, they're that final team that can really kind of throw a wrench into someone's season if they beat Oregon and then finish up. That would be crazy.
The Oklahoma win certainly helps Texas. There is no doubt about that. That was a big, big win. You need Vandy to keep winning, and you need Ohio State to keep winning, because that helps your strength of schedule, which I think their strength of schedule is 6th, but the 3 losses that's really tough. I mean, to lose to Ohio State the Florida loss is going to kick you in the balls. That's the one where you're just like, I don't even know how you justify that. I think it's tough. Well, you know what, Paxton, they can play Sanford because they've won every other game. When you lose to Florida, I think you're losing control of your destiny.
You're losing credibility, bro.
Let's just be honest and say you're just not as good this year as you were last year offensively. I mean, you have Colin Simmons making plays that I can't even describe, yet Wingo and company can't catch a football. It's just, you finally are getting high level play out of Arch, and they can't catch the football.
And listen,
and I agree that drops are a huge problem right now in college football. Well, really everywhere. Yeah. Jesus, look at the Chicago Bears game yesterday. But you got to catch the football, dude. It is.
And Bama damn well better dominate the Iron Bowl. I no excuses, dude. No excuses.
That was one of the most disappointing games that I have seen. But the Bama game went pretty much how we thought it would go. Alabama just
That's not what I said.
Alabama is terrible against mobile quarterbacks, running quarterbacks. Like, they are. John Mateer made a huge difference in that game with his legs, not his arm. And I feel like it was so disappointing to see how poorly they tackled. Just how poorly they tackled. A 3-loss Bama will get in. The NCAA committee will not keep their golden child. They're not a golden child. They're not a golden child. They got robbed last year. Yes, they will keep them out. Texas lost 20 plus to the draft, and they're young. Well, everybody loses people to the draft. That's what makes football and college football dynasties magic. Is Carson Beck gets hurt and Gunnar Stockton steps up, and he's playing some of the best quarterback in college football.
Yeah.
So how's that black hoodie looking right now? Not good.
Yeah, the black hoodie didn't accommodate for the absolute atrocious ball security out of Bama. And I it's just frustrating, dude, because offensively you were fine. You played damn well good enough. This was not a Brent Venables defensive wizardry win, dude. It wasn't. It's very clear what happened here. You turned it over multiple times, and that's why you lost the game. Like, that's it.
Yeah. And Timothy, Chicago won yesterday. You mean WON yesterday with the last second? I had no idea. Wow. Good thing you told me that. I had a 10-2 Texas before the season, losses to Florida and Georgia. Well, BYU could beat Bama. No, I don't know about that. Ty Simpson looked like a freshman against Oklahoma. I don't know that I put it on. Ty. Honestly, I think
could have been better in the first half for sure, but not the reason they lost altogether.
I think they didn't tackle very well. That's what I put it on. And I think that you can't turn the ball over. The Ryan Williams fumble, it's inexcusable. I don't know how. Could Ty Simpson have been better? Yes. But you can't have John Mateer running for that touchdown. It can't happen. And I thought Bama's defense did everything you needed them to do. And Oklahoma's defense was just better. Oklahoma's defense was better. It's as simple as that. And it's a real tip of the cap to Venables. So, should Texas stop scheduling teams like nope. No, if you're good, you don't care who you play, in my opinion. The problem is the Big Ten won't schedule up because their conference is just ass. There's no depth in the conference. Utah could beat Bama. We've done it once before. Well, because you run the ball well. You have to make Alabama tackle you. And right now, I think that's a team that put a bunch of dudes in the NFL. They don't tackle well. West Virginia could beat Georgia. We've done it before. Exactly.
Right.
What teams can beat Texas Tech? Well, Tech fans don't like it. I am not a Baron Morton believer. I am not. I have real concerns about that team's long-term viability into the playoff because of Baron Morton. And I understand that's not popular. It is amazing. It is amazing to me. Like I'm getting DMs from Texas fans. Rodney, who is a longtime viewer in the background of this show, going back to Taysom Hill jumping over Texas.
Oh, God.
What an ass take you two have today. Texas is in. They have the best resume in the country. I don't care how many losses they have. Okay, so best resume in the country. Your opinion is Texas has the best resume in the country. So if I say strength of schedule, you think that they have a better strength of schedule than Alabama? Yeah, that's not correct. Alabama's got the fourth strength of schedule. So you think strength of record, you have the best strength of record. No, you have the 13th strength of record behind Oklahoma, Texas Tech, Bama, Oregon, BYU, Ole Miss, Georgia, Ohio State, Indiana, and A&M.
Roll Tide!
Remaining strength of schedule. Texas is 24th, which is behind Vandy, Oregon, Ohio State, Indiana, and pretty much tied with Texas A&M. You don't have the best resume. You don't. And the real problem is you don't have dudes that catch the football. You'd have won that game if you would have caught the football.
Yeah, I think Texas fan, listen, Rodney, dude, let's not make outlandish statements about best resumes and all that nonsense. That's just not, it's just, you just don't need to do it, right? Like what you should be talking about is the lack of play out of your receivers, the lack of execution on the O-line.
The O-line is a huge problem.
And again, as a result of it, the lack of running game and the lack of talent in the running room as well, I would point out. Because, the one thing that you don't see in my opinion...
I think Wisner can run the football.
Yeah.
I do.
But
what you're not... You know what you're not...
Run.
Jake, you know what you're not seeing? Well, but that's my point. But you know what you're not seeing? You're not seeing Arch Manning with those back-breaking 3rd and 8 quarterback runs.
Yeah.
Because he's got no space or time.
Mm-hmm.
You in today's SEC are not going to have your quarterback outrun the linebacker to the boundary. Especially against, teams like Bama, Georgia, Oklahoma that are really fast at linebacker.
Yeah, 4.4, 4.5 speed out of linebackers is pretty standard procedure in the SEC now.
I think when you look at Texas, I think the biggest issue is the offensive line. And I think the second biggest issue is you lack skill position. And I really like Texas. I think I've supported Texas the entire year, much to my detriment. But when I look at your like, he's even the thing and that I've criticized Arch Manning for is not using the tight ends enough. That Jordan Washington drop at the 50-yard line was just pull your balls out and stomp on them. Like that is, you got to catch that football. You got to catch that football. Yet, and it wasn't 1 or 2. It was like 5 or 6. And according to PFF, 11 balls on frame were not caught. 11. That's win and lose. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, that's all I'm saying. Texas, Bama, and Utah on the outside looking in. You've got one spot. Who do you take?
Bama.
Probably Bama.
Bama.
Probably
it's not
Bama.
even close.
As prolific as Utah's run game is,
they don't have the reputation. I'm telling you, it's not. I'm not even saying they suck. That's not at all what I'm saying.
No,
I'm just saying reputationally.
Their running game is prolific, but you'll follow the BYU blueprint of make them beat you by throwing the football, and they can't because they don't have the weapons on the outside. I think Utah's a horribly flawed offense. They're amazing when they're running the ball, but I don't think they can throw it to beat you because they don't have the receivers. So, we are young. Next year's the year. Totally agree with that. I think that's exactly right. I would take Utah to win, but Bama would get the playoff spot. As much as I love Kyle, I just don't think you guys can throw the football. Charlie Arch. Why is everybody picking on me? Charlie Arch. Okay. And then I honestly think I can't say enough about BYU's win over TCU. It is so impressive what Bear Bachmeier showed you. And I know I said this earlier, but I think it's important to say it again. Bear Bachmeier arrived in Provo on Saturday. I think that was such a gutty performance and a big performance. And obviously the defense, they lost in Lubbock because of Bear Bachmeier. His inability to operate against that defense. What you saw out of Bear and what you saw him do and the way that he was able to operate without conscience or care and just make important throws and just have that offense rolling. And now you get Cincinnati, because this is what the Big 12's turned into nowadays.
I expect nothing less than what you did to TCU. Nothing
You need
less.
to boat race Cincinnati. You absolutely have to boat race Cincinnati. And I don't care if Cincinnati's lost a few games here and they're well behind now. I don't care. Put them in the grave, dude. They've lost 2 in a row to Utah and Arizona. Put them in the fucking ground. It's over. End their season. Because BYU still has work to do. BYU has to prove a point. You've got, what are you at, Cincinnati, and then you're home for UCF. And then you play for the conference championship. Put them in the ground. Put them in the ground. Leave no stone unturned. Put them in the ground.
Yeah, I think your best point there is they still have work to do. I think this time of year, November, for football teams who are trying to be in the CFP is all about building your reputation. It's all about, after the Florida State thing and just the years that we've been doing this show during the CFP era, I'm a big believer that in the month of November, it's all about how you win the game, right? So like you lost to Tech, but then now you beat the shit out of TCU. And if you can do that same thing against Cincinnati, who at one point was ranked, then you can say, okay, cool. We dropped a 40-piece on both of these squads. Now we're going to go out and drop a 50-piece on UCF, and we're going to go to the Big 12 championship game. That would send the message to the committee, hey, this team, varsity against Tech, right? But Tech won the Big 12, or, was the best team in the Big 12, who, regardless of what happens in the championship game, right? So then from there, it's like, okay, cool. We definitively have 2 teams in the CFP as far as the committee is concerned. That's all BYU's got to do. And I say it like that because I expect them to do that against Cincinnati. The expectation is nothing short of dominate them. That's it. There's no other conversation, dude. I don't want any excuses like Tech fan was making after the Cincinnati game, dude. I don't want any excuses about, oh, well, we didn't have this or that or no. Dude,
and
eat them up.
Look what Arizona did to Cincinnati. Look what Arizona did. They went for 475 total yards, 24 first downs, and they only had 3 penalties for 25 yards. They controlled the ball for 36 minutes. And your offense is better than Arizona's offense. Do the job. You've got arguably the best defense in the conference. Do the job. Do the job. It's as simple as that. No depth in the Big Ten, correct. It's second behind the SEC, 8 in the top 25. Okay. So how many teams legitimately in the Big Ten would you say are just national powers right now? How many teams would you say Indiana and Ohio State?
Certainly.
Oregon?
Yes.
Okay, 3. USC?
Not yet.
Michigan?
No.
Illinois?
Michigan fan wants to tell you they are, but no. Illinois is not either.
They're not. And what Michigan fan can't get away from is you're playing the 35th strength of schedule and you're still a borderline team. Illinois. No. You got 3 teams. 3 teams. 3. The SEC's got Texas A&M, Georgia, Ole Miss, Alabama, Oklahoma, Vandy, and Texas. Double the amount of your teams. All with shots to make the playoff. All of them. All of them are programs that can win. Even Vandy can win every game that they play. And you think that's depth. What you have in the Big Ten, you think is depth. Do you think that BYU is a national brand? Or a national power can beat any team? Yes. Texas Tech? Yes. Utah? Yes. Arizona State? Not without their quarterback.
Not this year.
Not without their quarterback. So
Last
you have
year, I think they showed you what they're capable of, though.
So you have as many teams as the Big 12 has. Interesting. I mean, that's depth if I've ever seen it. You're out of your mind, dude. You are out of your mind.
Yeah.
You're out of your mind. If you think that's the case, you're out of your mind. Monty, any plays tonight? I like Pickens and CD overs. I would agree with that. This game tonight, Monday Night Football, Dallas and the Raiders, you should be able to throw all over them. And I've seen Dak's number tonight anywhere from 254.5 into the 260s. I have no, I mean, they're a 3.5 point favorite on the road in Vegas. I would take the over on that all day long.
More.
All day long.
Yeah, more.
Yeah, no doubt.
I took 300-yard game.
CD. Yep. Download the Prize Picks app. Use a promo code Monty. You deposit $5. They'll give you 50 more instantly. Prize Picks. Make sure you download the app. The Arizona State quarterback is really good, just so you know. I had no idea.
Bro, do you know anybody's name? Like, do you know people's names, bro?
I'm getting a cold.
Yeah. 'Tis the season.
Yeah, shouldn't have gone out in the rain. Only one conference has depth, then meaning the whole country has no depth. Well, I don't know about all that. Have a good evening, gang. You too, Mike. Yeah, have a good evening. The Monty Show is always presented by The Advocates at theadvocates.com. Don't forget, we're off next week for the Thanksgiving holiday. So enjoy it this week, my friends. We coming. All right, that's it. Advocates at theadvocates.com, advocates.com, advocates.com. Until tomorrow, say goodbye, Jake.
Goodbye, Jake.